Chapter 17. In the vast forest, Tsing Hui held his sword and stood against the wind on a boulder in the open air. It had been 3 months since the assassination of Hunyuan. In these 3 months, Tsing Hui had been eating the wind and drinking the dew, wandering in the forest, and painstakingly cultivating. He had already cultivated to the peak of the 5th level of the Danyang sword manual. This level was equivalent to a martial arts grandmaster in China on Earth. With just one more step, he would be able to break through the limits of the human body, transcend mortality, and become a martial saint who could resist firearms with his body. In this world, it was equivalent to a blood-changing grandmaster. In this world, to cultivate to this level, one needs to cultivate suitable methods to awaken the so-called bloodline, stimulate one's vital energy, and step into the immortal realm. However, these methods are all in the hands of the holy lands and sections. The bloodline activation methods that are circulated in the outside world, even if they can awaken the bloodline talent, are at best ordinary bloodline talents. Not to mention the legendary holy beast and divine beast bloodline talents. Even the spirit beast bloodline talents are difficult to obtain. This is the monopoly of cultivation resources. The 10 holy lands rely on these methods to ensure their supreme status in the eastern wilderness. Tsing Hui muttered to himself. This information was leaked by a son of chaos, who came from a poor family more than 3,000 years ago. It allowed people to know about the existence of the holy beast bloodline talents and divine beast bloodline talents. It was a futile attempt to provoke people and shake the status of the 10 holy lands. Unfortunately, in this world, the strong were respected, and one person could suppress a region. The 10 holy lands had as many powerful people as clouds. Although many small sects were dissatisfied with the 10 holy lands monopolizing the top cultivation methods, if they dared to resist, it would inevitably lead to thunderous oppression. Over time, people no longer wanted to fight against the 10 holy lands and overthrow the 10 holy lands' monopoly on cultivation and resources. Instead, they tried to find ways to join the 10 holy lands or even establish a relationship with them. This was also why, even though some countries were not weak, the arrival of a true disciple from one of the 10 great holy lands could still make them follow his lead. The Hunyuan Heaven sect has many bloodline awakening techniques, and one of them is the true black hole technique. It's said that when cultivated to the peak, one can awaken the divine Beast Kuanpung's bloodline talent. However, only the most outstanding disciples, or even the sectmaster's son, are allowed to learn such a technique. Others can only learn the 2nd level true Saint Beast bloodline technique, which is already the limit. With the top techniques monopolized, it will be difficult for those who practice ordinary techniques to advance. Even if they succeed, they will fall behind others. It should be known that when a divine beast bloodline fights a ferocious beast bloodline, it will often be a crushing victory. Some people who have awakened their divine beast bloodline a second time can even defeat stronger opponents. With that thought, Tsing Hui's eyes became resolute. He didn't want his future cultivation path to be controlled by others. A top-notch technique? Just because others couldn't obtain it didn't mean that he couldn't. The speed at which his chaos level increased far surpassed that of ordinary people. Even people like the Xianyang sect master couldn't compare to him. As long as his chaos level continued to increase, he would eventually have a chance to trade for a top-notch technique. Before I obtain a top-notch technique, I have to cultivate the last level of the Danyang Sword Codex and follow the path of the Chinese martial arts world on Earth. I have to condense martial will, liberate myself, break the limits of the human body, transcend mortality, and become a martial saint. Martial saint. Condense martial will, break the limits of the human body, and liberate oneself. What was a person's spiritual will? With one's extremely powerful will as a guide, one would break the limits of the human body and completely liberate one's strength. From there, one would obtain strength that far surpassed that of ordinary people. The human body had self-protection instincts at all times. For example, if one lost blood, One would feel dizzy after losing 10% of blood, one would go into shock after losing 20% of blood, and one's life would be in danger after losing 30% of blood. It could be seen that he still had 70% of the blood in his body that he hadn't used. It was the same for strength. If an ordinary person punched a wooden board, if there were steel nails on the board, they would instinctively avoid that area. When they touched a flame, they would hurriedly withdraw their hand. These were all part of the human body's self-protection mechanism. As for martial saints, they would use their own will as a guide to liberate themselves and completely release the instinctive protective energy in their body. They would break their limits time and time again, waiting for their body to adapt to their limits and stabilize before waiting for the next breakthrough. Every time they broke their limits, their strength would double. Logically speaking, there was no limit to this realm. The only difference was whether the body could withstand it and not collapse. Limits weren't that easy to break. When one's body was liberated, all the energy in one's body would explode. In reality, one's body would no longer have any protection. If one wasn't careful, one's body would collapse. Martial will refer to the concentration of one's spirit, energy, and spirit. Spirit was the foundation of martial will. Because Tsing Hui had fused with Cho Tsing Hui, his spirit was stronger than ordinary people and had reached level 31. The Danyang Sword Codex's method of condensing sword was even more domineering. Reaching level 1 of liberation wasn't difficult. Slightly adjusting his state, Tsing Hui's eyes gradually turned sharp. Swish! After he adjusted his state to the peak, the sword in his hand suddenly pierced out. At this moment, his spirit, energy, and spirit were completely concentrated on the trajectory of the sword. Shaoyang Sword Codex. Swish! 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 As Tsing Hui pierced out with his swordsmanship became faster and faster. In an instant, he had reached his current limit. Streaks of sword edges pierced out, tearing the air and creating air explosions. This caused a dazzling sword shadow to form in front of him. The surrounding vegetation was also swept up by the energy from his body, moving without any wind. Suddenly, Tsing Hui's body shook violently. In the next moment, the sharp sword in his hand had already broken through the limit, and its speed suddenly doubled. The difficulty of doubling one's speed under extreme conditions was almost unimaginable. If ordinary people wanted to go from 100 meters in 10 seconds to 100 meters in 9 seconds, they would have to put in a lot of effort and sweat. If he could go from 100 meters in 10 seconds to 100 meters in 5 seconds, he would no longer be an ordinary person. He would be a superhuman. Right now, Tsing Hui was performing such a miracle. 10 stabs, 20 stabs, 30 stabs. When Tsing Hui pierced out 108 stabs at a speed that broke the limit of the human body, his body suddenly stopped. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and the trajectory of his swordsmanship stopped abruptly. Ahem! Tsing Hui let out a painful groan. As he stopped stabbing for less than half a second, his body turned blood red. Many of his blood vessels quickly burst, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. Collapse. This was the most terrifying result of a martial Dao master trying to break through to the martial saint realm. The collapse of the physical body. The power obtained from the Danyang Sword Manual was tyrannical, but it was also the most dangerous. Since the establishment of the Danyang Sword Sect, no one had truly broken through the limit and entered the martial saint realm. However, if this happened to an ordinary martial Dao master, they would not be able to escape the fate of their physical body collapsing and dying. Even if advanced technology could save their lives, it would leave a serious injury in their body. However, Tsing Hui, the recovery characteristic, was fully activated at this moment. While he was in pain, streams of clear energy flowed out of his body, replenishing his body and healing his injuries from the inside out. After 4 hours, the pain in his body had subsided slightly. After 12 hours, the broken veins in his body had begun to heal. After 24 hours, he looked like an ordinary person on the surface. After 72 hours, he had completely recovered. What a domineering recovery characteristic. If it's already like this at the first level, if it's at the second level, Xing Hui activated the chaos opening technique. After a while, the environment around him changed, and he appeared in the white land in his personal space. Chaos level. Level 11 required Taoist rhymes. 18100. When the chaos level increased, he could increase one of his abilities by one level. Originally, he had chosen the advancement technique. He planned to use the advancement technique to forge a peerless divine artifact and trade it with someone in the Chaos Temple. But now, in order to break through the limit and become a martial saint, he obviously had a better choice. Second level recovery. After Xing Hui activated the second level recovery characteristic, he immediately exited the Chaos Temple and released his body again. He broke through the limit and attacked with his sword. After 108 strikes, his body collapsed. However, this time, from the collapse of his body to the full recovery, it took him less than 2 days. The recovery effect was reduced by half. Second level recovery. After the body adapts to the first level of release, I can try the second level of release. In order to test it, Xing Hui cut a finger-long and half a centimeter deep wound on his hand. Then, this wound completely healed in less than 2 hours. There was no wound left. It's much stronger than the first level recovery. Xing Hui looked at his recovered wrist and could not help but look forward to the future of the recovery characteristic. The second level recovery allowed him to recover from external injuries in less than 2 hours. Then what about the third level, fourth level, ninth level, and 10th level? What kind of recovery ability would he have then? Rebirth from a drop of blood? Undying body? I noticed that there was a mistake in the beginning. The protagonist only had the first level of recovery, but it was written as the second level. It has been changed back. Thank you for the reminder. Chapter 18. On the official road outside the Luo Lin Kingdom, Xing Hui slowly headed towards the majestic city that was as majestic as a mountain. After 3 months of cultivation, he had already allowed his body to adapt to the second stage of liberation. According to the Chinese on Earth, he was currently a second stage martial saint, or rather, a second stage sword saint. As for the third stage of liberation, Xing Hui gave it a try, but it was too dangerous. His realm was still shallow, so he was unable to accurately grasp the degree of liberation. Once he released it too much, even the second stage recovery might not be able to save his collapsed body. Half a year has passed. Xing Hui felt the urgency of time. The level of primal chaos had risen to the 12th level. This time, he chose to level up the advancement technique. I need a high-grade treasure sword. In this way, if I use the advancement technique to level it up, it can directly reach the first high grade. While Xing Hui was muttering to himself, the sound of horses galloping came from behind him. More than 10 young knights were galloping wildly on the official road, causing the pedestrians on the road to retreat. The aura of this group of more than 10 people was not weak, and they quickly galloped past. But at this moment, one of the female knights seemed to have sensed something and actually urged her horse back. Her gaze was constantly sizing up Xing Hui. Xing Hui. Xing Hui looked at the female knight. I don't know him, but he still nodded. It's really you. You finally appeared. We've been looking for you for several months. The female knight looked at Xing Hui and heaved a sigh of relief. You are, Xing Hui said. I'm Yuan, Mrs. Maid. Our miss is Naylan Fei. A few months ago, news came out from the Cloud Forest Tower that Elder Zhuri's servant, Yuan Yang, was ordered by Erishur Yudo to kill you, which immediately angered our Mississippi Miss was in a critical period of cultivation. So she sent Lord Shui to lead us here. Firstly, to kill Erishur Yudo and avenge you, and secondly, to find you. However, that woman, Erishur Yudo, was very smart. She actually didn't use the Lorraine Kingdom's flying ship to return to the Hunyuan heaven sect, causing us to miss. Then, everyone found Yuan Yang's corpse. Knowing that you should be fine, we brought people to destroy the Tianhe sect and planned to return. Yu Shanshan paused for a moment before continuing. However, when Miss Yanxing left the Luo Lin royal capital with Lord Shui for the Hunyuan heaven sect, she begged me to stay and continue investigating your whereabouts. I've been looking for you for an entire month. There was a trace of resentment in her voice when she spoke of this. Because of Tsing Hui, she had wasted a month of her precious time. However, Zhui Yinqing had personally asked her to stay. Moreover, Zhui Yinqing had a chance to become her Miss Favorite, so she couldn't refuse. Yinqing? Zhui Yinqing? Tsing Hui nodded. That little girl was very considerate. Cho Tsing Hui, since you've returned, immediately write a letter for me to bring to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. With Miss Yinqing's kindness, you can forget about going to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect to become a disciple. Miss has already taught Zhui Yinqing a lot. From now on, you can stay in the Lorraine Kingdom as the young master of the Zhua family. Don't go to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect to distract Mississippi. Tsing Hui shook his head. After learning that high-level Sons of Chaos were so dangerous that there were even factions that specialized in hunting them, he was no longer willing to go to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. If he was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this moment, several nobles on horseback came up to Tsing Hui and sized him up. The leader, a young man in a golden crown and brocade robe, smiled and cupped his hands together. You must be the eldest son of the Zhua family, Cho Tsing Hui. We've been looking for you for the past month. It's good that you found me. I've completed my mission. Yu Shanshan introduced them to Tsing Hui. Cho Tsing Hui, this is the son of the Hunyuan Marquis, the young Marquis Lai Gang. In addition, this is Ning Huaning and Miss Ning Xian from the Assistant Minister of the Ministry of Rights, and Feng Xiufeng from the Assistant Minister of the Ministry of War. The young Marquis and the other young masters have put in a lot of effort to find you. In a while, find an opportunity to invite them to thank them. I don't think I need to teach you how to do favors. Tsing Hui didn't say anything and only nodded at them. But this attitude still made Lai Gang a little dissatisfied. In any case, he was a young marquis. Although he couldn't compare with the princes and dukes, he was still a second-tier figure in the Lorraine royal capital. His father was a governor who oversaw the lives of millions of people in a city. He wouldn't even bother to go if ordinary people wanted to invite him. But looking at Zhuo Qingshu's appearance, he was willing to give him a chance. He didn't know the rules. But when he thought about Zhui Yinqing, who had been brought to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect by Nailan Fei, he suppressed his displeasure and didn't say anything. Yu Shanshan couldn't be bothered with Cho Tsing Hui and Lai Gang's emotions. Cho Tsing Hui, come back with me and write a letter for me to bring to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, where you can stay in the Lorraine royal capital for half a year. Firstly, you can see the young talents of the Lorraine royal capital. Secondly, the Dragon Gate Convention that occurs once every 4 years in the Lorraine Kingdom is coming. If you can perform well at the Dragon Gate Convention, you might be able to become a fish that leaps over the Dragon Gate and join our Hunyuan Heaven Sect with your own ability. No need. I'll go to the city to buy a suitable sword and write a letter for you. You don't even dare to go to the Dragon Gate Convention. Do you really want to rely on our young Mrs. Care to reach the heavens in one step? Yu Shanshan looked at Tsing Hui with some disdain. If you don't want to go, then don't go. It's up to you. On the other hand, when Lai Gang heard Tsing Hui mention buying a sword, he had a plan in mind. With the thin layer of relationship with the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, he naturally didn't dare to deal with Tsing Hui. But making him lose face or asking for his help was obviously a good choice. He immediately stepped forward with a smile and said, "If you want to buy a weapon, I have a good place to recommend. The weapons there are all of the best, and from time to time, there are even ranked spirit weapons for sale. The entire shop is very famous in the Lorraine royal capital." Hearing about ranked spirit weapons, Yu Shanshan was a little tempted. She glanced at Tsing Hui and said, "Then we'll accompany Cho Tsing Hui to buy a weapon first. I'll have to trouble the young Marquis to lead the way. It's my honor to be able to help miss you." Lai Gang smiled slightly. "When a young Marquis enters the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, you can also look for me. Although I'm only an outer disciple in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, many inner disciples will more or less give me face. Then I'll have to trouble miss you when the time comes." Lai Gang cupped his hands. "Young Marquis, you're not going to take him to the Divine Armament Building, are you? The things there aren't things that ordinary people can afford. Even if you want to enter the building, you have to pay a hefty fee. Ning Xin whispered behind Lai Gang. Stupid, can't you see that the young Marquis is a little dissatisfied with this boy's arrogance and wants to teach him a lesson? He wants to let people from small cities like them see the world. If the Zhou family hadn't cultivated good fortune for 3 lifetimes, it wouldn't have been a big deal to receive Miss Nalen's favor. How could they have caught the young Marquis's eye? But a small family is a small family. Even if they have a noble backing them, they can't escape the short-sightedness of a mouse. It's good to let the young Marquis take them to see the world. Ninghua and Feng Xiu chuckled. While they were whispering, a guard had already given up his horse. The few of them rode into the royal capital of Luolin. Under Lai Gang's lead, they went straight to a quiet and secluded place in the southern part of the city. Not long after, the group had already arrived at a group of courtyards that occupied a rather large area. The interior of the courtyard was decorated elegantly and exquisitely. Stepping into the courtyard, a kind of luxurious and noble aura already hit him in the face. The courtyard was divided into several large and small aisles, leading to different places. On the aisles, there were also people dressed in luxurious clothes with extraordinary bearings coming and going, accompanied by maids. Welcome to our inn garden. I'm Coco. Is there anything I can help you with? A young girl about 16 years old wearing a pure and innocent dress came up to them with a smile. Although she was only a maidservant, she was beautiful and had an extraordinary temperament. She didn't look like a maidservant at all. Instead, she looked more like a rich young lady. Overall, she was not inferior to Ning Xin, the young lady of the Ning family. I heard that the Divine Armament building in Inn Garden has a new batch of goods. We want to go and take a look. Lai Gang waved his hand indifferently. All right, everyone, please follow me. Kiki smiled and quickly led the group into the courtyard. On the way to the Divine Armament building, they saw a group of beautiful girls in open clothes. They were surrounded by a young man in luxurious clothes. They were charming and gorgeous. This place, I'm afraid it's not as simple as selling divine armaments. Yu Shanshan looked at the girls in revealing clothes and said meaningfully, this place is called Inn Garden. It's the Inn Garden that grants all requests. Here, anyone can find the things they like, the goods and the joy. Lai Gang explained with a smile in front of them. This is the most famous money-squandering place in the royal capital. As long as you have money, there's nothing they can't satisfy. It's the same for men and women. For the weapons that young masters will want to buy, not to mention ordinary swords, they even have graded divine armaments. Feng Xiu explained from the side. Xinghui glanced at Feng Xiu and Lai Gang. He could faintly see that this group of people was up to no good. However, this was not important. He only needed to buy divine armaments that he was satisfied with. Chapter 19. The group stepped forward and soon arrived outside the Divine Armament Tower. Outside the tower, there were 2 Viscera refining realm guards. When they saw the group, they immediately stepped forward. The Divine Armament Tower is an important place. If you want to enter the Divine Armament Tower to buy a divine armament, you must pay an item worth 1,000 gold as collateral. There's such a rule? Feng Xiu was surprised. The Divine Armament Tower is not an ordinary place. The tower owner is very powerful, and the items inside are extremely precious. There are many ranked spiritual weapons. I don't need to say more about the value of spiritual weapons. Everyone yearns for them. Not long ago, the tower owner obtained a level 2 spiritual weapon from somewhere and attracted everyone's attention. The entire Divine Armament Tower was busy, but the tower owner likes peace and quiet. Therefore, to prevent idle people from entering the Divine Armament Tower without buying a divine armament, he set up this rule. Lai Gang smiled and said. Then, he stepped forward and placed a token on the plate that the guard was holding. Is this acceptable? So, it's the young Marquis of the Hunyuan Marquis residence. With the reputation of the Hunyuan Marquis residence, it's naturally worth more than 1,000 gold. Please. The guard hurriedly said. Yes. As Lai Gang spoke, he turned to Ninghua, Ning Xin, and Feng Xiu. The 3 of them also stepped forward and either left a jade token or a token that represented their identity. They were all reputable figures, so they passed one by one. However, when it came to Yu Shanshan, she was a little troubled. At this time, Lai Gang took out another item. This item will be collateral. Miss you, please. Yu Shanshan nodded. Thank you. Doesn't Cho Tsinghui also have the identity token of a Zhuo family disciple? Let's see if it's feasible. Feng Xiu smiled at Tsinghui. I'm afraid it's not appropriate. Not to mention that he seems to have been expelled from the Zhuo family. Even if he is still a member of the Zhuo family, the people of the Divine Armament Tower may not recognize the Zhuo family disciple token. After all, the Cloud Desolate City is too far away from the imperial capital. Lai Gang looked at the others as if he was thinking for Tsinghui. Do you have any other valuable items on you that can be used as collateral? No, I only have a few valuable items on me. I can't take out anything else as collateral. Me neither. Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, and the others didn't like Cho Tsinghui's indifferent attitude. In addition, they followed Lai Gang's lead. Naturally, they wouldn't undermine him at this time. After Lai Gang asked everyone, he turned back to Cho Tsinghui and said, Then, we will have to trouble you. How about you wait for us outside, and we will go in and see if there are any suitable weapons for you. I'll ask you when I'm done. Yu Shanshan wanted to see the many ranked spirit artifacts inside, so she didn't speak at this time. In addition, you have to be clear about the price of the treasured sword you plan to buy. Every treasured sword in the Divine Armament building is extremely valuable. But if you really don't have enough money on you, you can borrow some from us. We'll be able to gather enough. Lai Gang smiled and said magnanimously. Cho Tsinghui could see that these people wanted to save his face. He stepped forward and placed a thumb ring on the jade plate. Can I use this as collateral? The guard stared at the thumb ring for a moment and suddenly nodded. A top-grade jade thumb ring. It can be worn to one spirit and is worth no less than 1,000 gold. Of course, you can enter. Let's go. Tsinghui didn't bother to talk nonsense with Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, Ning Xian, and the others. He stepped directly into the Divine Armament building. Yu Shanshan couldn't help but be a little surprised. Cho Tsinghui, where did you get a jade thumb ring that's worth 1,000 gold? I killed Yuan Yang and confiscated it. Did you really kill Yuan Yang? Of course. Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, Ning Xian, and the others couldn't help but snort when they heard Tsinghui's words. Yuan Yang is a grandmaster of the blood-changing stage. He can be considered a first-class figure even in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's inner sect. How could you kill him? I heard from Cloud Forest Tower that when Yuan Yang appeared, you were so scared that you fled in panic. Ignorant. Tsinghui spat out 2 words. Lai Gang's expression changed. You Cho Tsinghui. Yu Shanshan also called out in dissatisfaction. The young Marquis spent a lot of time looking for you this month. What kind of attitude is this? However, Tsinghui ignored her and stepped directly into the Divine Armament Building's hall. Since Lai Gang wanted to humiliate him, why should he give them any face? When Yu Shanshan saw that Tsinghui didn't even give her face, she couldn't hold it in anymore. She coldly snorted. If Miss Yinqing hadn't begged me, I wouldn't have cared if you lived or died. You really don't know what's good for you. You deserve to be toyed with by Erishur Yudo. I won't take such a small matter to heart. Don't let this affect Miss Yu and Miss Yunqing's relationship. Lai Gang smiled and said magnanimously. The young Marquis is magnanimous. Yu Shanshan nodded. People were afraid of comparison. The difference between Tsinghui, who didn't know etiquette and came from a humble background, and the graceful Marquis' son, Lai Gang, was immediately obvious. This kind of person, if he saw her young miss, he would definitely bring her countless troubles. Cuckoo, who was accompanying them, couldn't help but find the childish fight funny. However, she didn't say anything and led them into the Divine Armament Building. In the main hall of the Divine Armament Building, a woman in her 30s dressed in red was guiding a group of people and introducing something. When she saw Tsinghui, Lai Gang, and the others, she didn't say anything. She only nodded at Cuckoo, who was leading the group. This is where the Divine Armament Building is located. Esteemed guests, please take your time to admire it. Everything that can be stored in our Divine Armament Building is, without exception, a divine weapon. Cuckoo smiled as she led the way. Lai Gang glanced at the woman in red. She looked like she was in charge of the divine armament building, but she didn't come to entertain them. He, who was already angry, was even more dissatisfied. He glanced around indifferently. It looks like this batch of goods from the divine armament building isn't much. There aren't many updates. This batch of goods is mainly ranked spiritual weapons. The ranked spiritual weapons are all on the second floor. Do you want to take a look? Cuckoo still maintained a smile on her face. Lai Gang's expression was a little awkward, but he quickly changed the topic. He turned to Xing Hui. This time, the main person is Master Zhua. He is the real buyer. Master Zhua, please take a look and see if there is anything that can satisfy you. As he spoke, he took the lead and came before a sword. He pointed at it and said, "Since you are a sword user, why don't you consider this sword?" The dark nether sword is made of dark crystal and dark iron. It was forged by a master swordsmith. The sword is light and can cut through iron like mud. Although it can't compare to the Dragoncry sword that I had not long ago, it is still considered a good sword among the top-grade swords. You won't see it in ordinary places. The Dragoncry sword was given to the young Marquis on his 20th birthday. The dark nether sword naturally can't compare, but if Master Zhua wants to use it, it should be enough. Ninghua complimented without leaving a trace. "Can you take it down for me to take a look?" Xing Hui asked. Cuckoo glanced at Lai Gang. Considering that there was a young Marquis in the group, she said, "Of course you can take a look. I will take it down for Master Zhua. Just look at it through the counter." "Master Zhua, you have to look at it first. The weapons collected by the Divine Armament Tower are very valuable. None of them are worth less than 1,000 gold. Because of this, you have to pay 1,000 gold as collateral when you enter the tower. For example, this sword is worth 6,300 gold. When you take it out, you have to be careful not to break it." Ninghua said indifferently. "Break it? That only proves that the quality of the weapons in the Divine Armament Tower is not worth mentioning. Please don't worry, Master Zhua. There is absolutely no problem with the quality of the weapons in the Divine Armament Tower. You can take a look at it," Cuckoo said hurriedly. Xing Hui stepped forward and pulled out the dark nether sword directly. Buzz buzz! As he flicked the sword with his finger, the dark nether sword immediately let out a crisp sword hum that resounded through the hall. For a moment, even the other group of young men and the woman in red in the tower looked in this direction with a trace of surprise on their faces. "This is Listening Sword?" Cuckoo seemed to have thought of something and could not help but exclaim in surprise. "What is Listening Sword?" Ning Xian could not help but ask curiously. Ning Hua glanced at Qing Su in surprise as well, and then said to Ning Xian, "Listening to the sword is a rather advanced method of judging swords. Rumor has it that some swordsmiths can judge a sword's material, quality, number of refinements, and so on through the sound of the sword chime. But these swordsmiths are all swordsmiths themselves and have immersed themselves in swordsmanship for at least decades. Zhua Qingshu looks to be in his early 20s. He is just putting on an act." Lai Gang said lightly. The others also nodded. Chapter 20. A moment later, Xing Hui put down the dark nether sword. "How was it? Did you hear anything?" Ninghua asked with a playful smile. Xing Hui ignored him. He glanced around the hall and came to another counter. He pointed at a sword and said, "Please let me see this sword." "Sure." Cuckoo paused for less than half a second before she quickly opened the counter and took out the sword. This is the Dark Desolate Sword. Its main material is dark iron, and it's supplemented with, I know. Xing Hui held the Dark Desolate Sword horizontally and flicked it. Buzz buzz. The crisp sound of the sword resounded in the hall again. After a long time, he nodded slightly. "I'll take this one." Cuckoo was a little surprised, but then she smiled and said, "Young master, you have good taste." The Dark Desolate Sword is one of the best high-grade swords in the hall on the first floor of the Divine Armament Tower. Even if it's not in the top 3, it's definitely in the top 10. Young master, you're really extraordinary to be able to pick this sword out of nearly 100 divine weapons. What's the price? This sword is priced at 6,300 gold. Young master, Are you paying with money or other items? 6,300 gold. Ning Xin couldn't help but exclaim when she heard Cuckoo report this number with a smile. One had to know that the marrow cleansing pill, which could allow one to break through to the marrow cleansing realm, was priced at around 15,000 gold. If one wasn't in a hurry and waited patiently, one could buy it for 10,000 gold. The dark desolate sword actually took up half the price of the marrow cleansing pill. It was obvious that it was expensive. The Zhou family has occupied many good mines over the years, but their foundation is still shallow. Their annual income is only tens of thousands of gold. Even if you're the eldest son, you'll be lucky to get 100 gold a year. 6,300 gold. If you want to save it, you'll have to save it for 63 years. Do you really plan to buy this sword? You have to know that the Divine Armament Tower doesn't accept credit. Ninghua finally got to the point. He couldn't help but speak with a playful expression. 6,000 gold isn't a small amount. Xinghui, do you want to buy this sword? If I remember correctly, there's a treasured sword at the entrance that costs only 1,400 gold. That's quite suitable for you. Feng Xiu also said kindly, but his face showed that he was waiting to watch a good show. Xinghui glanced at Feng Xiu, making Feng Xiu's hair stand on end. He already understood that these people were up to no good. At this time, he didn't want to have too much to do with them. Ignoring them, he turned to Cuckoo and said, I have some things that I need to sell. Let's see if they're worth 6,300 gold. Seeing that Xinghui really intended to take out something worth more than 6,000 gold coins, Cuckoo was a little surprised, but she still hurriedly said, Young master, please follow me to the booth to rest for a moment. I will invite the appraiser over for you. As he spoke, he led Xinghui to a private room, not far away. Young Marquis, seeing that Xinghui really went with Cuckoo, Ninghua, and Feng Xiu couldn't help but look at Lai Gang. Let's follow and take a look. Lai Gang said in a low voice and silently followed Xinghui. When they arrived at the booth, the appraiser who had received the news had also arrived. He was a little surprised to see Lai Gang and the others standing outside the booth, but he still walked around them and came to Cuckoo. Young master, if there's anything that you need to sell, feel free to take it out. Cuckoo smiled. Xinghui took out 3 gems and a jade pendant and placed them on the table. The appraiser quickly flipped through them and came to a conclusion not long after. These 3 gems are all top-notch jadeite. Each gem is worth no less than 600 gold. It's not difficult to sell them for 1,800 gold. However, the key is this jade pendant. This is Hunyuan blood jade. Wearing it can increase the efficiency of a Grandmaster expert's blood exchange. For months ago, someone in the royal city took out a similar Hunyuan blood jade and sold it for 6,000 gold. Although the price is slightly higher, if this young master is willing to sell it, our inn garden can buy it for 5,500 gold. 5,500 gold plus 1,800 gold was a total of 7,300 gold. It was more than enough to buy a mysterious, desolate sword. Seeing that Xinghui actually took out such a huge sum of money to buy the sword, Lai Gang's face darkened slightly, and he turned to leave. Yu Shanshan, on the other hand, was indifferent at this time. She watched Xinghui buy the mysterious, desolate sword worth 6,300 gold without hesitation. No one knew what she was thinking. When Lai Gang saw this, he was even more displeased. Little brother, I'm not sure about the quality of this sword. I wonder if you can help me take a look. At this time, the red-clothed woman in charge of receiving the young man and the others came forward with a high-grade sword in her hand. She smiled and greeted them. Sister Hong. Kuka bowed slightly to the red-clothed woman. The woman called Sister Hong waved her hand, and her gaze fell on Xinghui. It's not difficult. Xinghui stepped forward and took the sword from the red-clothed woman's hand. With a flick of his finger, a loud sword hum sounded out again. Not long after, Xinghui said, This sword is forged from fine steel and supplemented with wood crystals and wind spirits. Not only is it sharp and strong, it is also flexible and tough. In addition, because of the wind spirit, the sword is light and graceful. Those who are good at using fast swords can use the sword like the wind and increase the sword speed by 20% to 30%. It is an unobtainable high-grade sword. Good. Today I am fortunate to be able to see little brother listen to the sword and taste it. It is truly a blessing. The woman called Big Sister Hong finished speaking and said, "Little brother, can you taste another sword for me? If you can tell me the origin of this sword, I am willing to give you the mysterious desolate sword for free." Get it for free? Yu Shanshan couldn't help but exclaim. That was a precious sword worth more than 6,000 gold. Sing Hui pondered for a moment. He also wanted to understand the level of this world's swords in detail so that he could sell them for a good price. He immediately nodded. "Little brother, take a rest first. I will send someone to get the sword." The woman in red smiled. Bastard! Lai Gang, who was watching from afar, couldn't help but curse in his heart when he saw Tsing Hui and the woman in red talking and laughing. Young Duke, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, and the others followed Lai Gang, feeling somewhat sullen. Where did this kid get so much money? Gems, blood jades, and even knows the sword listening technique? Is he really a master swordsman? After killing Yuan Yang, these things are all the spoils of war seized from Yuan Yang? Feng Xiu was somewhat puzzled. He can't kill Yuan Yang. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been chased by Yuan Yang. This matter won't end so simply. He bought a treasured sword and made us lose face. This brat must be very proud of himself right now. I heard that he was infatuated with Lan Yutong. It seems that he is quite lecherous. Feng Xiu, go next door and make some arrangements. Isn't he rich? Give this kid a badger. Yes, I will go now. Feng Xiu responded and quickly left. Is this a little bad? Ning Exen, who was beside him, whispered. What's wrong with it? As the young duke, he was humiliated by a kid from a remote city. It's ridiculous, Ning Hua said coldly. At this time, Feng Xiu had already arrived at the courtyard next door. In the inn garden, each courtyard had a different function. The Divine Weapon Building was responsible for the sale of weapons and armor. The courtyard in front of him was called the Carefree Building, which meant carefree and happy. Feng Xiu pondered about finding a suitable person to make arrangements for when he saw a woman in the courtyard dressed lightly. She was charming, but her face had a pure and pleasant appearance. Charm and purity, two completely different colors on her body, formed a strong visual impact. Even though Feng Xiu had interacted with many women, he still felt his heart heat up the moment he saw this woman. I didn't expect the Carefree Building to have such a beauty. You're lucky. Even a woman in a remote place like the Cloud Wilderness City can charm you. You will be fooled by such a beauty. Feng Xiu suppressed the heat in his heart and quickly stepped forward to the woman. Beauty, what's the price? I have something for you to do. What? The girl was suddenly pressed by Feng Xiu and was at a loss. Her blank and innocent look made Feng Xiu's index finger twitch. He couldn't help but touch her face. Her skin was so soft that it could be broken. Let's talk about the price and follow me to the Divine Weapon Building. As long as you can make Cho Tsing Hui sleep with you, money is not a problem. Being molested, the girl couldn't help but scream. Her right hand struck out in panic. Rogue, slap. Feng Xiu was caught off guard by the girl. Even though he was in the marrow cleansing realm, he still couldn't react. He was directly slapped by the girl. His brain was in a daze from the slap. The girl was shocked and scared. She was so scared that she quickly ran out. When Feng Xiu came to his senses, the girl had already rushed out of the corner of the courtyard. F***CK. Bitch, how dare you hit me? Don't let me know your identity. Otherwise, I will make you beg for death. Feng Xiu chased after her in anger. As he chased after her, he vaguely felt that something was wrong. The strength of the girl's slap was not weak at all. To be able to stun him, an expert in the marrow cleansing realm, she was definitely in the marrow cleansing realm. The girl was at most 16 years old, but her cultivation was in the marrow cleansing realm. She was definitely not as simple as a woman from the Carefree Building. No matter how rich the Carefree Building was, it was impossible for them to let a girl who had reached the marrow cleansing realm at the age of 16 receive guests. This was most likely a misunderstanding. Bad luck. Ever since I met that guy, everything has gone wrong. Feng Xiu muttered to himself. Business was more important. He was too lazy to think too much. Soon, He went to the carefree building to find a suitable candidate. Chapter 21. The woman in red was called Qing Hong. She had the same name as a divine sword. Following her orders, someone quickly brought the sword over. A middle-aged man came along with the sword. This man had a huge amount of qi and blood, and there seemed to be the sound of a surging river in his body. He was obviously a grandmaster who had stepped into the blood transformation realm. Sending a grandmaster to escort a sword in the Divine Armament Tower's own territory showed how much importance the Divine Armament Tower placed on this sword. Please. Qing Hong handed the sword to Tsing Hui and gestured. This was an ancient sword that seemed to have a long history. It had probably existed for hundreds of years, but the owner of the sword seemed to cherish it very much and kept it well. It looked as if it was newly cast. When Tsing Hui held the sword, he could clearly feel the qi and blood in his body stirring. No, it was not the qi and blood in his body that was stirring, but sword intent. There was sword intent in this sword. He could only condense sword intent in a short period of time using the Dongyang Sword Codex to condense sword intent. It was not difficult to release oneself and break the limits of the body, but it was impossible to make sword intent last forever. But in this sword, there was sword intent. Qing Hong noticed the change in Tsing Hui's expression and immediately asked, Prince Tsing Hui, did you see something? This sword. Tsing Hui raised the sword and flicked it. The sword hummed softly. He listened carefully, trying to find out what kind of mystery this sword contained that could resonate with the sword intent of the Dongyang Sword Codex in his body. After a while, Tsing Hui put down the sword and asked, May I know the origin of this sword? Qing Hong saw that Tsing Hui actually asked about the origin of this sword, and her heart skipped a beat. Others did not know the reason why the Tower Master bought this sword, but she had occasionally heard about it. She immediately pretended to be disappointed and said, This sword is called Tai. It is said that it belonged to the Nine-Sword Sage, who was one of the famous sword cultivators in the Eastern Wilderness. His swordsmanship had reached the peak, so his sword is naturally not bad. I guess this sword can be called a peerless sword among the swords. A famous person's relic? I wonder if the Divine Armament Tower is willing to sell this sword. Tsing Hui said, Of course, the Magic Weapon Tower, bought it in the hope that one day we can sell it at a high price. The so-called Immortal Nine Swords is just a bluff. Now that Prince Tsing Hui is destined to have this sword, it's okay to sell it to Prince Tsing Hui. I wonder what price Prince Tsing Hui is willing to offer. The quality of this sword indeed surpasses that of a high-grade treasure sword. It can be called a peerless treasure. I'm willing to buy it for 10,000 gold. Prince Tsing Hui, you must be joking. If you were willing to pay 10,000 gold for an ordinary peerless grade sword, we would naturally be willing to sell it. However, the Greater One Sword is not only one of the best peerless grade swords, it also belongs to the Nine-Sword Sage. 10,000 gold is too little. Speaking of this, Qing Hong smiled and said, How about this? Prince Tsing Hui and I will go and ask the Tower Master. The Tower Master himself is also a person who likes swords. As the saying goes, pink powder is a gift to a beauty, and a treasure sword is a gift to a hero. If the Tower Master appreciates Prince Tsing Hui, he may sell this sword to you at a low price. The Greater One Sword might be related to whether he had cultivated sword essence. Tsing Hui immediately nodded and said, Okay, please. At this moment, a group of 10 people quickly came from outside the Divine Armament Tower. The guard in charge of the tower seemed to want to stop them and collect the admission fee, but he was slapped away by one of them and fell heavily into the hall. Someone actually dares to make trouble in the Divine Armament Tower? Seeing these 10 people rushing in quickly, many guests of Engarden outside the Divine Armament Tower who had witnessed this scene all looked over. Who is it? 8 masters rushed out of the Divine Armament Tower again. Each of them was a person who had succeeded in refining organs. They quickly surrounded the group of 10 people, and the leader of them had even reached the Grandmaster realm. Miss, the situation has changed. I have to send the sword away first. As the situation in the hall changed, The middle-aged man escorting the Greater One sword hurriedly whispered, "Prince Xinghui, how about we leave together? Someone will deal with this matter here. No one dares to make trouble in Ingarden." Qing Hong said, "Okay." Xinghui nodded. Just as he was about to leave with Qing Hong, the leader of the 10 people who had rushed in, a young man in plain clothes, but with an extraordinary aura, shouted, "Who is Cho Xinghui? Stand out and accept your death." Huh? Xinghui, who was about to leave, heard the young man shout and stopped. The middle-aged man escorting the Greater One sword was cautious at this moment. He ignored Qing Hong, put away the Greater One sword, and quickly retreated. It could be seen that he attached great importance to this matter. Xinghui was about to say something to the middle-aged man, but at this moment, Ning Hua, who could see that the crowd was looking for trouble, quickly pointed at Xinghui and said, "It's him. He's Cho Xinghui. Are you going to get down yourself, or should I break your legs first and kick you down?" The young man looked at Xinghui with an indifferent expression. Qing Hong's gaze swept over the young man and the 9 people accompanying him. She couldn't help but be secretly shocked. Among these people, 4 were grandmasters in the blood transformation realm. The remaining 6 were in the marrow cleansing realm, and the other 3 were in the viscera refining realm. However, this didn't mean that their cultivation was weak. On the contrary, these 6 people below the blood transformation realm were all under the age of 20. To reach the marrow cleansing and viscera refining realms under the age of 20, this kind of cultivation could only be described as terrifying. In particular, 3 of the 4 blood transformation realm experts were obviously guards. To be able to command blood transformation realm experts as guards, even the crown prince of a noble house wouldn't be able to do so. At this moment, Qing Hong personally stepped forward and bowed. "Guests, Qing Hong from the Divine Armament Tower greets you. This is Prince Xinghui, an honored guest of the Divine Armament Tower. I don't know how Prince Xinghui has offended you, but I'll first apologize. If you have anything to say, let's sit down and slowly discuss it. How about Deacon of the Divine Armament Tower? This is none of your business. Move aside." The young man didn't put Qing Hong in his eyes at all and said indifferently. Seeing that Xinghui wasn't coming down himself, he directly said to a blood transformation realm guard behind him, "Tai Bin, go and break his legs. Make him kneel in front of Yao Yao." "Yes, young master." Tai Bin responded and was about to take action, but at this moment, a person came in from outside the door. It was Feng Xiao. When he saw the hostile atmosphere in the Divine Armament Tower, he couldn't help but be slightly startled. He didn't know what had happened, so he could only walk around the young man and his group of 10 people and walk towards Lai Gang. "Young Marquis, what happened?" "Hey, Cho Xinghui, this kid offended some big shots. This time he's in for a treat." Before Lai Gang could speak, Ning Hua was already gloating. At this moment, a young girl from the group of 10 people suddenly saw Feng Xiao and couldn't help but shrink back in fear. This movement was seen by another woman beside her, who was around 20 years old, but had reached the peak of the viscera refining realm. She immediately said, "Yao Yao, is it that person?" The young girl called Yao Yao hesitated for a moment and nodded. "Ah, it's you." At this moment, Feng Xiao's gaze also fell on the young girl, and he immediately recognized her identity. This young girl was the one he met when he went to the Carefree building to find someone to trap Xinghui. "Tai Ao, go, break his legs and bring him here." The woman ordered coldly without hesitation. "Tying, you go too. Not only that kid, but also those who are with him. Capture all of them first." The young man added, "Yes." The 2 blood-changing realm guards who received the order quickly rushed forward. "What's going on? Who are you?" "I'm Lai Gang, the eldest son of the Marquis of Hunyuan." "What do you want? Do you want to rebel by attacking the nobles of the kingdom?" Lai Gang took a step forward and shouted sternly. "Marquis of Hunyuan? So what? I'll make him come personally and give me an explanation. Take him down." The 2 blood-changing realm grandmasters who received the order immediately rushed into the group of Lai Gang, Feng Xiao, and Ning Hua. Among them, the one with the highest cultivation, Lai Gang, had just stepped into the viscera refining realm, which was slightly inferior to Jin Go. Ning Hua and Feng Xiu were only at the marrow cleansing realm. As for Ning Xian, she was even worse. She was only at the tendon changing realm. How could she fight against the two blood-changing grandmasters? In one exchange, Lai Gang was beaten back repeatedly, his qi and blood surging. Feng Xiu, who was the focus of attention, had his right hand broken at the moment of collision. The sound of bones breaking mixed with Feng Xiu's screams clearly echoed in the hall. Not only that, the blood-changing grandmaster who broke Feng Xiu's right hand was merciless. He ruthlessly kicked Feng Xiu's right leg. If this kick connected, it would definitely break his right leg. Stop! Clang! At this time, Yu Shanshan, who came with Lai Gang, could no longer ignore this. She shouted sternly and unsheathed her long sword. Her figure flew like a golden light and intercepted one of the two blood-changing grandmasters. How dare you commit such a crime in broad daylight? Do you have any respect for the laws of the Lorraine Kingdom? Do you have any respect for the rules set by our Hunyuan Heaven sect? I haven't entered the top 10 on the new book list. Please recommend me. Chapter 22. Bang! The two figures collided in the air, and Yu Shanshan, who had yet to reach the blood transformation stage, was sent flying. However, her identity as a disciple of the Hunyuan Heaven sect made the blood transformation Grandmaster Tai Ying, who was rushing towards Lai Gang and the others, pause. Everyone, please calm down. There may be some misunderstanding. I wonder what the guests of the Divine Armament Tower have done to offend you. Let's make things clear before we start fighting. At this moment, Qing Hong hurriedly spoke. At the same time, a Divine Armament Tower Grandmaster expert who took the lead stopped Tai Bin, who was rushing towards Tsinghui. The two exchanged blows, but they were unable to do anything to each other. The scene was in a stalemate. Divine Armament Tower, it seems that you intend to go against our Demon Hunters Association. Can you, a Divine Armament Tower, bear the consequences? Seeing the stalemate, the young man's expression darkened as he stared at Qing Hong with a sharp gaze. Demon Hunters Association? Hearing the man report his origin, Qing Hong exclaimed. The originally arrogant and angry young Marquis expression changed at this moment. There was a trace of fear on his face. As for Ning Hua and Ning Xian, they couldn't help but shiver. The #1 underground force in the south that spans the 9 great kingdoms, the Demon Hunters Association. Yu Shanshan seemed to have heard of this force before, and was suddenly a little surprised and uncertain. Although the Demon Hunters Association was a semi-underground organization, its internal forces were definitely not weak. Not only did it span across the 9 countries, but there were also many experts within the association. They were responsible for hunting vicious beasts and spirit beasts, refining the blood essence of vicious beasts and spirit beasts, and selling them. This blood essence was the best treasure for cultivators who wanted to strengthen their bloodline after the awakening stage. The blood essence of vicious beasts was one thing, but if it was the blood essence of spirit beasts, its price would often be comparable to that of a ranked spirit weapon. There was once a true disciple of the Hunyuan Heaven sect who saw the powerful money-making ability of the Hunyuan Heaven sect and tried to take control of it by force. He led his followers to the Demon Hunters Union, but was beaten back by the Demon Hunters Union. Not a single one of his followers was left alive. If it weren't for his identity as a true disciple of the Hunyuan Heaven sect, he probably wouldn't have been able to return alive. Some of the higher-ups of the Hunyuan Heaven sect had thought of wiping out the Monster Hunters Union, but the president of the Monster Hunters Union seemed to have bribed some important figure of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. Often, he would be able to obtain information that the Monster Hunters Union would break up and avoid being hunted down by the Hunyuan Heaven sect. In addition, the Monster Hunters Union hadn't done anything outrageous, so over time, this faction was tacitly allowed to exist. Although the Divine Armament Tower had an impressive background and was close to Hunyuan, it was obviously inferior to the Union of Demon Hunters. To tell you the truth, our young master is the son of President Wu of the Lorraine Kingdom branch of the Monster Hunters Union, Wu Ju. With our young master's identity, he is a distinguished guest whenever he goes to the Crown Prince's residence. 3 of the 14 princes of the royal family have a harmonious relationship with our young master. If you make our young master unhappy, why would it be difficult to close your divine armament tower? A young man about the same age as the young man, Wu Ju, stepped forward and said loudly. As he reported the young man's identity, Lai Gang's face turned pale. President Wu of the Monster Hunters Union was a big shot that his father, the Duke of Hunyuan, couldn't curry favor with even if he wanted to. But today, he had offended President Wu's son. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. So it's young Master Wu. Qinghong has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please forgive me. The young man waved his hand in dissatisfaction. Stop talking nonsense. That your brat beside you has such big guts. How dare he ask our young miss to accompany him? He should take a piss and look in the mirror to see what he is. Sing Hui's gaze immediately fell on the young man who spoke. Are you insulting me? Prince Sing Hui, please calm down. Qinghong hurriedly stepped forward to stop Sing Hui. Then, she turned to Wu Ju and the others and smiled apologetically. Our divine armament tower definitely has no intention of offending the Monster Hunters Union. Prince Sing Hui has been doing business with our divine armament tower all this time. He definitely wouldn't offend you. Could there be some misunderstanding? Before Qinghong could finish, she was already interrupted by the leader, Wu Ju. He raised his hand and looked at Sing Hui with a cold expression. What? You don't seem to be happy with what you said just now. Do you have any ideas? If you have any ideas, just say it. It's like I've always been blunt. So what if I'm insulting you? How dare a toad like you try to molest my sister? Didn't your guild master father tell you that this kind of indiscriminate and condescending attitude might bring you disaster? Sing Hui said, Disaster? Perhaps there are a few people in the Lorraine Kingdom that our Monster Hunters Union can't afford to offend, but those people definitely won't appear here. Originally, when you let your lackey offend my sister, I only planned to break your limbs and make you kneel in front of me and apologize. On the other hand, Ning Hua and Ning Xian didn't dare to resist and didn't suffer any injuries. They were only captured and forced to kneel in front of everyone. It would be a big blow to the reputation of the Divine Armament Tower if a guest was injured in the tower. However, they couldn't afford to offend the Demon Hunters Union. Qinghong could only pretend that she didn't see anything and said in a low voice, Since the matter has been clarified, these people will be handed over to young Master Wu. Wait, did I say you could leave? Wu Ju glanced at the screaming Lai Gang and Feng Xiu and ordered, Tell them to shut up. Then, he looked at Sing Hui again and said expressionlessly, as if he was looking at an ant, This incident was caused by him. If these people hadn't set a trap for him, my sister wouldn't have been frightened and molested, and none of this would have happened. Leave one of your hands and kneel down to apologize to my sister. My sister will deal with you personally. Qinghong's face changed as soon as she heard Wu Ju's words. Not only her, but even the guests of Engarden who were standing outside the door and looking in this direction were also shocked. Wu Ju seemed to be trying to show the dominance of the Demon Hunters Union. He neither suppressed his voice nor drove away the onlookers. Therefore, the guests of the Engarden outside saw what he did clearly. This Demon Hunters Union is really overbearing. Isn't that so? The Demon Hunters Union was an underground organization. It was only after they got close to an important figure of the Hunyuan heavenly sect that they slowly came out from the shadows. Before that, every member of the Demon Hunters Union worked with ferocious beasts every day and fought with spirit beasts at all times. They live a life of licking blood from the edge of the blade. Naturally, they were vicious and brutal. Looks like we have to be more careful when dealing with the people of the Demon Hunters Union in the future. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, the youths who came with Wu Ju all held their heads high and their chests out. They were like a pack of wolves patrolling their territory, sweeping their aggressive gazes in all directions. They were full of pride for their identities. Qinghong saw how overbearing the Demon Hunters Union was, especially considering that it was a terrifying force that dominated the 9 countries. She didn't dare to say anything and could only retreat to the side. The demon hunters' union, even if it was just a branch of the Lorraine kingdom, the divine armament tower couldn't afford to offend them. On the other hand, Yu Shanshan hesitated for a moment before standing up again. My family's young miss is the Hunyuan heavenly sect's true disciple Nalan Fei. In terms of seniority, Chotsing Hui is my family's young miss nephew. I hope that everyone can give face to my young miss and let him go. After all, this matter doesn't have much to do with him. Hunyuan heavenly sect's true disciple, Wu Ju, frowned. This identity still had some weight. After all, he, Wu Ju, was only the son of the branch president of the Lorraine kingdom. He wasn't a branch president or a member of the headquarters, so he couldn't afford to offend a true disciple. However, Tsing Hui's previous words had made him extremely unhappy. What kind of arrogant attitude could bring disaster to them? With so many people watching, if they didn't teach him a lesson, the world would think that the Demon Hunters Union was afraid. For the sake of your family's young miss, I won't argue with you. You don't have to use one of your arms. Come over here and kowtow, slap yourself 10 times, and then apologize to my sister. This matter will be over. In the future, remember to be careful of what you say. Be careful of what you say. Chapter 23. When Yu Shanshan and the others heard this, they understood why Wu Ju wanted to drag Cho Tsing Hui into this matter. It was because he had spoken too arrogantly. Thinking of what Qing Su had said earlier, Yu Shanshan naturally linked the person Qing Su had mentioned as someone he could not afford to offend her young miss. The reason he was so arrogant right now was because he wanted her young miss to clean things up for him when the time came. As soon as he thought up to there, the slight change in his opinion of Qing Su vanished once again. This kind of person who only knew how to bully others with his connections could not be brought to the Hunyuan heavenly sect. Otherwise, it would only bring countless troubles to her young miss. Cho Tsing Hui, did you hear that? Young Master Wu has already shown mercy and spared your life. Why haven't you kowtowed and apologized to Miss Wu? Yu Shanshan's voice was slightly cold. Tsing Hui glanced at her and shook his head. He came to the front of Wu Ju in the hall and swept his gaze over the people around Wu Ju. 4 blood transformation realm cultivators. Your confidence comes from your blood transformation realm cultivation and 3 blood transformation realm guards. Seeing Tsing Hui's appearance, Wu Ju couldn't help but laugh. I can see that you're not convinced. Before Wu Ju finished speaking, a stream of light burst out from his body. Swish! The next moment, Tsing Hui's figure shook slightly, and the sword in his hand was unsheathed. The sudden change caused Wu Ju's pupils to shrink, and he immediately retreated. A protective jade talisman. The protective jade talisman that his father had asked for from the president. It was refined by a 3rd-stage eternal life realm cultivator who had poured his own aura chi into it. At the critical moment, the aura chi formed by the jade talisman could block a fatal blow. A fatal blow? Dead? If the jade talisman on his body hadn't burst out to block that sword, he would already be dead. With this thought, an unprecedented fear suddenly formed, almost completely swallowing him. This person called Cho Tsing Hui wanted to kill him. Dared to kill him? Kill him. Kill him. Kill him for me. The fear of death made the son of the president of the Union of Demon Hunters, who had been talking and laughing arrogantly a moment ago, roar in fear. His face was filled with fury and killing intent. His 3 blood transformation realm guards also thought of the same thing. They were both shocked and angry. In an instant, they attacked together from 3 different directions. Cho Tsing Hui, are you crazy? I've already asked for forgiveness for you, yet you still don't know what's good for you and attack young Master Wu. You're seeking your own death. I've already fought for a chance for you, but you didn't know how to cherish it. I don't care about you anymore. From now on, you'll have to fend for yourself. Yu Shanshan couldn't help but shout, and quickly drew a clear line to avoid being implicated. The remaining Lai gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, and so on all took pleasure in Qing Su's misfortune. Even though they had been beaten up extremely miserably, they obviously felt even better when they saw Qing Su suffer the same fate as them. Tsing Hui didn't even look at Yu Shanshan. Facing the encirclement of 3 blood transformation realm experts, his body shook slightly, and a majestic power that was twice as strong as a blood transformation realm expert erupted from his body. First level of liberation. Whoosh! The next moment, the sharp sword in his hand whistled as it tore through the void. With the power of a thunderbolt, it fiercely collided with the fist of a blood transformation grandmaster expert. Bang! The sword edge and the fist force collided in the void, and a dull sound burst out. The floor that the blood transformation grandmaster expert was standing on was instantly torn apart and exploded. At the same time, his arm that collided with Tsing Hui's sword edge exploded. Chi! At the same time that the grandmaster expert Tai Ying's right hand was torn apart by the sword edge, Tsing Hui's figure had already brazenly stepped forward. The sword edge pierced straight through the grandmaster expert's head and came out from the back of his head. After piercing through Tai Ying's head, Tsing Hui twisted his body and avoided Tai Bin's attack. His left hand shook violently, and he used the tremor force technique to meet Tai Ao's attack at the same time. Although Tai Ao's technique was also extremely brilliant, he couldn't withstand Tsing Hui's strength that was twice his. The two forces collided, and once again, an explosion occurred in the void. Crack! In the explosion, the sound of the bones in Tai Ao's right hand shattering clearly echoed, and his body was also shaken and flew backward. On the other hand, although Tsing Hui's body paused slightly and his left hand was red and swollen, as he retreated, he channeled all his strength into the ground and shattered it. Tying, seeing that one of the 2 grandmasters who came into contact with them was killed and injured, the remaining Grandmaster Tai Bin and young Master Wu Ju felt their minds go blank. Awakening Realm? Only those who had awakened their bloodline and broken through the limits of the human body could have such combat strength. Did they kick an iron plate? He's not in the Awakening Realm yet. He doesn't have the blood chi pressure that an Awakening Realm expert can have on a Grandmaster expert after awakening their bloodline. It's just that he's cultivated a top technique, and his blood chi is far more vigorous than a blood transformation grandmaster. Tai Bin was experienced and knowledgeable, and he immediately understood the mystery of Tsing Hui's body. Go, let's attack together. Tai Bin shouted and immediately pounced on Tsing Hui with Tai Ao. Yu Yan, take Yao Yao and leave first. Xiantong, follow me. Wu Ju, who was previously frightened by Tsing Hui, also regained his senses at this time. After knowing that Tsing Hui was not in the Awakening Realm, he roared and rushed forward. Accompanied by a cold flash, a sharp sword had already killed its way into the battle circle of Tsing Hui, Tai Bin, and Tai Ao. Even if the sword had not reached him, the sharpness of the sword still made his skin hurt. A ranked spiritual weapon. Tsing Hui's body leaped, and his eyes swept across the trajectory of Wu Ju's sword technique. He had already completely understood his sword technique, but he did not dare to block it. In terms of quality, a graded spirit weapon was much better than an ungraded spirit weapon. A rank 1 spiritual weapon was better. If it was a rank 2 spiritual weapon, a blood transformation grandmaster could fight an Awakening Realm expert with it. Entangle him. Seeing that Tsing Hui easily dodged his sword technique, Wu Ju shouted. Suddenly, Tai Bin, Tai Ao, and Xiantong roared at the same time, took out their swords and sabers, and broke out their strongest killing moves. They swept through their chi and blood, almost blocking all the space where Tsing Hui could dodge. Entangle me? With just you guys? Tsing Hui's eyes sharpened. The next moment, the Danyang sword technique was used. His right hand quickly shot out dozens of streams of light, completely filling the void in front of him. Danyang sword technique. Meteor. Bang, bang, bang. Flames burst out. Of the 2 martial scholars and 1 peak viscera refining powerhouse, each of them had simultaneously blocked at least 10 sword strikes from this meteor-like sword light. They had been able to block the first few sword strikes, but the last few sword strikes had directly pierced through their defenses, piercing through their bodies and leaving bloody holes in their bodies. Especially Xiantong, who was only at the peak viscera refining realm. He could not dodge in time and was stabbed 3 times by Tsing Hui, bleeding profusely. You have to pay the price for insulting others. After blowing away the 2 grandmasters, Tsing Hui's eyes fell directly on Xian Tong, who had been stabbed 3 times. His expression was cold, and his right hand did not stop for a moment, stabbing out again. No, you can't kill me. My father is the first hunting team captain of the Demon Hunters Union. Don't kill me. Xian Tong's body flew back, screaming in horror. Be more polite in your next life. Chi, stop. The sword pierced through the head, and Wu Ju's angry shout sounded at the same time. Seeing Xian Tong, who had been playing with him since childhood, being killed in front of him, Wu Ju crazily roared, I want you dead. Whoosh! The sword light burst out. The sharpness contained in the sword light rushed toward him. Even if Tsing Hui immediately understood the sword's trajectory and dodged, the sharpness contained in the sword edge still cut his cheek, leaving a bloody mark. Good sword. If I have this sword, I won't be afraid of awakening realm warriors. After dodging Wu Ju's sword, Tsing Hui's eyes flashed. At the moment when Wu Ju's sword stabbed toward him, his eyes completely understood the changes of his sword technique. Then he blocked with his sword, and his left hand brazenly grabbed out. Bang! The sword light shot out in all directions. The moment Tsing Hui's ordinary sword collided with Wu Ju's ranked spiritual weapon, it cracked and broke into 2 pieces. However, when the spiritual sword paused slightly after cutting through the sword, Ching Su's left hand reached out viciously. He actually pinched the sword between 2 fingers before exerting force with a jolt. Bang! Wu Ju's right hand that was holding the sword burst out red blood. For a moment, he couldn't help but let go of the sword. In the end, he watched Tsing Hui take away the spiritual sword. My refined edge sword. Young master, run. Tai Bin and Tai Ao shouted loudly and intercepted Tsing Hui. However, with the refined edge sword in his hand, Tsing Hui's strength increased by more than a level. At the same time when Tai Bin and Tai Ao intercepted him, he had already rushed forward with his sword. The sharpness of the refined edge sword pierced out, overflowing with cold air. Before Tai Ao had time to react, the sword in his hand had already torn apart the battle sword in his hand, and the remaining force did not diminish as it pierced toward his head. Tai Ao's body quickly turned to avoid being pierced by the sword. But as Tsing Hui's sword swept across, the sharpness of the refined edge sword had already cut through his throat, taking away a cluster of blood. No! Tai Bin roared and stabbed forward with his long sword as fast as lightning. However, with his level 2 sword Dao talent, Tsing Hui seemed to have an intuition towards any sword technique. With just a glance, he could completely understand any low-level sword technique. This sword that was as fast as lightning was dodged sideways. Not only that, at the same time he dodged the sword, his mind had already derived many counterattacks. The sword that swept across Tai Ao's throat continued to slash down, hitting Tai Bin's sharp sword in the middle. Relying on the absolute advantage of a perfect rank spiritual sword over an ordinary sword, he easily broke Tai Bin's sharp sword. At the same time that Tai Bin's sharp sword was broken, Tsing Hui's left hand had already pointed at Tai Bin's heart. Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, Tai Bin's body was penetrated by the force of this finger and flew backward. Under the meridian-severing skill, his heart stopped beating, and he died in the blink of an eye. The whole process was as smooth as flowing water. There was no pause at all. 2 master-level powerhouses were easily killed by him with the sharpness of his sword. At this point, Wu Ju was the only one left among the 4 Master Blood Conversion Masters. Chapter 24. Seeing Tsing Hui kill the 3 blood-changing Grandmasters, everyone inside and outside the hall of the Divine Armament building sucked in a breath of cold air. Qing Hong, Cuckoo, and the others were fine, but Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, Ning Xian, and the others, who had been targeting Tsing Hui many times, were all dumbfounded. 3 blood-changing Grandmasters were killed by him alone. Lai Gang's eyes were wide open, as if he couldn't even feel the pain in his body. Yuanyang, he really killed them. The Cloud Forest Tower has misunderstood me. He killed a blood-changing grandmaster half a year ago. Feng Xiu was scared silly. If a blood-changing grandmaster was willing to join the army, he could easily become a general, and his status would not be inferior to his father's. However, such a big shot was killed like a cat or a dog in front of Xinghui. Feng Xiu didn't know what was good for him, and offended such a person for a young marquis who didn't even have a noble title. I specifically asked around from the Zhou family. Chou Xinghui is only a muscle reversion expert. Even if there was a rumor that he defeated our Hunyuan Heaven Sect's outer disciple Su Karen, it was too bizarre to be believed. I didn't expect these rumors to be true. With the combat power to kill 3 grandmasters, defeating Su Karen and killing the old and weak Yuanyang is nothing. Now that he has a ranked spiritual weapon, he can compete with those awakening stage experts who have awakened the bloodline of dire beasts. Yu Shanshan was also deeply shocked by Xinghui's methods at this moment. In addition to being shocked, she also regretted her cold attitude just now. An expert close to the awakening stage, if he really goes to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, he will be a great help to Mississippi. If he awakens his bloodline in the future, he will step into the 6th stage of the longevity stage and become a true disciple and can become Mrs. Left and Right Arms. I said that you have to pay the price for insulting others. Are you satisfied with this result? Xinghui came to Wu Ju with a refined edge sword. Wu Ju's face alternated between green and white. Thinking back to how aggressive he had been when he had arrived and how his army had almost been completely wiped out, he suddenly felt like he had lost all face. His hatred for Xinghui had reached its peak. What do you want? I will give you a taste of your own medicine. This is my will. Whatever you want to do to me, I will do to you. You want me to kneel to you? I, Wu Ju Tang, am the son of the president of the Demon Hunters Association of the Lorraine Kingdom. How can I be humiliated by you like this? You also know what humiliation is? Then, why did you reply so confidently when I asked if you were humiliating me? Yu Qi. Just as Wu Ju was about to say something, the sharp sword in Xinghui's hand had already pierced through his calf. Wu Ju didn't even have time to react. The intense pain caused his body to lean forward uncontrollably, and he fell to his knees. Stop! Seeing that Xinghui had actually dealt such a heavy blow, the slightly older woman who had been protecting Wu Yuyao immediately stepped forward and said coldly, Enough! Chou Xinghui, right? Wu Ju offended you. It's enough for you to teach him a lesson. Do you really want to kill him and have a falling out with the Demon Hunters Association? Wu Ju is the son of the president of the Demon Hunters Association. If you really dare to kill him, you will offend the entire Demon Hunters Association. By then, there will be no place for you in the entire Lorraine Kingdom. Not only that, but other than you, your family and friends will also be implicated. Even if you don't think for yourself, you should at least think for your family and friends. Xinghui's gaze fell on the woman. Are you threatening me? I'm not threatening you. I'm just stating a fact. We are all young people, and sometimes we do things impulsively. However, this doesn't mean that we can completely ignore the consequences. I don't need to say more about how powerful the Demon Hunters Association is. In the entire Lorraine Kingdom branch, there are more than 20 people in the blood-changing realm. If you include those who are affiliated with the Demon Hunters Association, there are more than 60 people. Moreover, Wu Ju's father, the president of the Demon Hunters Association of the Lorraine Kingdom, Wu Hunyuan, had already awakened his bloodline 10 years ago and stepped into the awakening realm. No matter how strong you are, how can you be stronger than an awakening realm master? Therefore, if things get out of hand, it won't be good for you at all. There are more than 20 blood-changing realm masters directly under him, and more than 60 people affiliated with him. President Wu is an existence who has stepped into the Immortality Realm 6. Hearing the woman's words, Yu Shanshan's expression changed, and she hurriedly said, Xinghui, enough is enough. The Demon Hunters Association is not a small force. There's no need to make things so tense. Otherwise, even our miss may not be able to protect you. At this time, Qing Hong also stepped forward to be the peacemaker. Yes, Prince Xinghui, strictly speaking, this matter is just a misunderstanding. It's just a verbal conflict. Why do we have to make things difficult? We all belong to the Lorraine Kingdom, and we see each other all the time. Harmony is the most important. Wu Ju, say something. Give me some face, and let this matter end here. The woman turned to Wu Ju and said. Wu Ju endured the pain in his feet, hid the resentment in his heart, and stood up. Since Zhen Mei has spoken, I naturally have to give Zhen Mei face. Cho Tsing-hui, return my sword to me, and I can let bygones be bygones, as if today's matter never happened. He had already made up his mind. When he returned to the Demon Hunters Association, he would crush Tsing Hui's bones and scatter his ashes no matter the cost. If 4 masters couldn't defeat him, then 5, 6, 8, 10. Today's humiliation must be repaid with blood. Well, since Master Wu Ju has spoken, let's forget about this matter. If we really fight, it won't be good for you. While speaking, the woman called Zhen Mei by Wu Ju, Mu Zhenjin, looked at Xing Hui and Yu Shanshan meaningfully. Even if we really fight, even the true disciple behind you may not be willing to protect you. Yu Shanshan's heart skipped a beat, and she keenly thought of the rumors of the Demon Hunters Association. Not only was this force extremely powerful, but it was also said that they had bribed an important figure of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. If things really got out of hand, Hermes really couldn't intervene in this matter. Otherwise, it would escalate to the level of a game between Hermes and that important figure of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. When she thought up to there, Yu Shanshan said in a hurry, All right, Qing Su, since the matter has been clarified, it's a misunderstanding, and the misunderstanding has been resolved. Young Master Wu Ju plans on letting bygones be bygones. Quickly return the sword to young Master Wu Ju. Let bygones be bygones. Tsing Hui looked at Wu Ju. You agree to let bygones be bygones, but that doesn't mean I agree. Hearing Tsing Hui's words, Mu Zhenjin's expression suddenly darkened. Cho Tsing Hui, don't make a mistake. Mistake? If I'm not as strong as you, what will happen to me? I'm afraid I won't be able to escape death today. Now that you find out that you're not as strong as me, you immediately change your face and say it's a misunderstanding and want to let bygones be bygones. Are you going to fulfill the wishes of everyone in the world? How can there be such a good thing in the world? Hearing this, Mu Zhenjin couldn't help but laugh in anger. Then what are you going to do? Xing Hui fell silent. Cho Tsing Hui. Seeing that Xing Hui didn't seem to want to let bygones be bygones, Yu Shanshan suddenly became anxious. Enough is enough. Now that Master Wu has made it clear that he won't pursue this matter, if you still insist, be careful that when the Demon Hunters Association questions you, our miss will just stand by and watch. This girl is right. Although you have strength that surpasses the Grandmaster stage, you haven't stepped into the 6th level of the longevity stage. The reason why you're so fearless is because you're relying on the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect's true disciple, Miss Nailan Fei. Once you don't have Miss Nailan Fei's support, it's easy for our Demon Hunters Association to deal with a blood transformation stage martial artist. Mu Zhenjin spoke frankly and with assurance. Her gaze was sharp as she stared directly at Xing Hui, fearlessly confronting him. I don't understand. Why can you say things that don't make any sense so naturally and confidently? Just like how Wu Ju bluntly told me just now that he was insulting me. What should I do? So, in order to make him speak nicely, I showed him what I would do, but now, it doesn't seem to have any effect. Xing Hui's tone paused slightly, and his gaze fell on the girl. Your tone is still so confident, as if you've shown mercy and decided to let bygones be bygones. Then, I should also choose to reconcile and let this matter end unsettled, because this is your style of doing things, because you think you're stronger than me and follow the law of the strong being respected. The truth will revolve around the strong, and your Demon Hunters Association belongs to the side of the strong. The worldview of Earth and the other world is ultimately different. It can be considered as paving the way for integrating into the other world's worldview. Chapter 25. The Woman, Tsing Hui, and Yu Shanshan were equally baffled by Tsing Hui's inexplicable words. Truth revolved around the strong. The strong were respected. That had always been the law of this world. Was there anything wrong with it? However, looking at Tsing Hui's solemn face, and considering the fact that they were in a stronger position right now, Mu Jinjin could only hold back her dissatisfaction and continue the somewhat idiotic conversation with him in a cold tone. Now that you have made it so clear, I might as well make it clear that compared to you, the Union of Demon Hunters is indeed on the side of the strong. Going against the Union of Demon Hunters will not do you any good. Once you really attack us, not only will you die, but your family, your friends, and everyone related to you will be obliterated by the retaliatory strike of the Union of Demon Hunters. Even the true disciple behind you might not be willing to fight the Union of Demon Hunters to the death to protect you. Therefore, Cho Tsing Hui, you need to stay rational and not make mistakes. Mistakes? No, you seem to be mistaken about one thing. Between the Union of Demon Hunters and me, the real expert is not the Union of Demon Hunters, but Tsing Hui looked at Mu Zhenjin in front of him, his eyes gradually turning sharp. Me? Tsing Hui's words slightly dazed Mu Zhenjin. Then, disbelief appeared on her face. Are you trying to provoke the entire Union of Demon Hunters? Lunatic! Wu Ju, who was full of resentment and planning to summon more than 10 masters to kill Tsing Hui the moment he escaped from Tsing Hui's clutches, suddenly had a hint of fear in his heart. Lunatic! He should have realized that the Cho Tsing Hui in front of him was a lunatic from the beginning. A world where the strong kill people as a matter of course. A world where the weak deserve to die. And a world that is unreasonable. Then, in order to break the vacuum as soon as possible, I will follow your rules, throw away the old shackles, and let the world revolve for me. After Tsing Hui finished his speech, the air around him seemed to have changed. Quietly, he broke through the shackles and was reborn. Tsing Hui turned his head slightly, and his eyes fell on Wu Ju, which made his heart tremble. As the one who allowed me to truly integrate into the rules of this world, I won't kill you. The Demon Hunters Union is rich and has no lack of money. But I need to cultivate quickly, and I happen to lack these mortal things. Therefore, if you want to keep your lives, each of you will have to pay a ransom of 100,000 gold. There are 6 of you here, and excluding you, the total is 500,000 gold. 500,000 gold? Are you crazy about money? Mu Jinjin was so angry that she laughed. 500,000 gold. Even a graded sword could not compare to that. You're unwilling to give it to me? Tsing Hui's gaze fell on Mu Jinjin. Cho Tsing Hui, don't go too far. Although we are now in your hands, I don't believe that you don't have any relatives or friends. If you really dare to touch a single strand of our hair, Sister Jinjin, shut up. Seeing that Mu Zhenjin was about to continue angrily, Wu Ju suddenly shouted and interrupted her. He then said, 500,000 gold. We are willing to pay. However, even if our Yao Hunters Union wants to gather 500,000 gold, we still need time. All right, I'll give you 3 days. After 3 days, I'll go to the Demon Hunters Union to ask for the money. Then Wu Ju was about to ask them what they should do, but Tsing Hui had already turned around and walked towards Xinghong. Seeing this, Wu Ju was slightly stunned. Then he thought of something and hurriedly pulled Mu Zhenjin, Wu Yuyao, and the others out of the Divine Armament Building's hall as quickly as possible. Tsing Hui did not stop them in the slightest. After Mu Zhenjin, Wu Ju, Wu Yuyao, and the others disappeared from the courtyard outside the Divine Armament Building, Yu Shanshan, Qing Hong, and even Lai Gang breathed a sigh of relief. He spoke so fiercely, but didn't he still obediently let them go in the end? He just wanted a way out. What can we do? Don't tell me you want to see this young man, called Cho Tsing Hui, fight with the Demon Hunters Union? That's the Demon Hunters Union. It's a colossus that spans the 9 great kingdoms and has as many experts as the clouds. Even in the entire eastern wilderness, such a faction is a first-rate existence besides the 10 great sacred sections. Who dares to provoke them, even if he has a true disciple as his backer? This young man named Zhuo Qingshu has no choice but to let the matter rest. But I don't think those people from the Demon Hunters Union will be willing to let the matter rest so easily. They've lost 3 Grandmasters and a young elite who has reached the Viscera refining stage. If the Demon Hunters Union doesn't do anything about it, what will happen to their reputation? What's there to be afraid of? He has the Hunyuan Heaven Sect backing him. As long as he hides in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, the Demon Hunters Union won't dare to behave atrociously in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. That's true. No wonder he's so fearless. Outside the Divine Armament Building, seeing the Demon Hunters Union members leave, the onlookers discussed and dispersed. Prince Sing Hui has made a wise choice. Inside the Divine Armament Building, Qing Hong smiled. Yu Shanshan caught up with Sing Hui, who had come to Qing Hong's side, and hurriedly said, "Cho Sing Hui, although young master Wu said on the surface that he won't pursue this matter, the Demon Hunters Union has suffered such a huge loss and lost 3 masters. They won't let this matter go so easily. We must leave the Luo Lin royal capital and head to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect before he reacts. Fortunately, you have strength that surpasses ordinary masters. As long as you stay in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect for a period of time, you can enter the inner sect and become an inner sect disciple. Your status will be higher, and even if the Demon Hunters Union wants to pursue the matter, they won't dare to act rashly. Don't be impatient, Sing Hui said to Yu Shanshan, then turned to Qing Hong and said, "Let's go see the building master of the Divine Armament Building and discuss the sale of this sword." Qing Hong looked at Sing Hui and hesitated for a moment before saying, "Prince Sing Hui doesn't need to leave with young Miss Yu first." Sing Hui shook his head. Qing Hong thought for a moment and said, "Not long ago, President Wu of the Demon Hunters Union brought the most elite team to the Muse grasslands to hunt spiritual beasts. Currently, there aren't many masters in the Demon Hunters Union. Even if the Demon Hunters Union really wants to take revenge on Prince Sing Hui, it will probably take 8 to 10 days to gather several masters. They might even have to wait half a month for President Wu to return. In these 2 days, Prince Sing Hui shouldn't be in too much danger. However, whether you want to see our building master or not is still up to you, Prince Sing Hui." "I'll go," Sing Hui said. "Chot Sing Hui, do you really think the Demon Hunters Union is so easy to provoke? Or do you think that if you were captured by the Demon Hunters Union, young Miss would risk going to the Demon Hunters Union to save you?" Yu Shanshan couldn't help but say angrily. Qing Hong persuaded, "Our building master is in the Lorraine royal capital. It won't take long for him to rush to the Divine Armament Building. Even if we include the conversation with Prince Sing Hui, it will take at most half a day. Young Miss, you might as well take this opportunity to check where the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's flying ship is docked and calculate a safe route to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect." Hearing Qing Hong's words and seeing that Sing Hui was determined to see the building master of the Divine Armament Building, Yu Shanshan could only helplessly say, "I hope nothing will happen to him during this time. Please rest assured, young Miss Yu, this incident happened suddenly. If the Demon Hunters Union comes again, we will think of a way to send Prince Sing Hui away through other secret doors. Then I'll have to trouble you, Deacon Qing Hong. Young Miss Yu is too polite." Qing Hong said and gestured at Sing Hui, "Please follow me." Sing Hui nodded and followed Qing Hong into the inner courtyard. As for Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, Ning Xian, and the others, they had already learned their lesson. Moreover, he believed that as one of the main culprits who caused the Demon Hunters Union to lose 3 Grandmasters and a peak Viscera refining expert, their ultimate fate would not be as simple as having an arm or a leg broken. Chapter 26. Outside the Divine Armament Tower. Xian Long, the Tower Master of the Divine Armament Tower in a black robe, was quickly approaching under the escort of 4 people. At the entrance, there were 2 blood transformation Grandmasters waiting with a solemn expression. "Tower Master, where's the Sword Master? Did he really understand the mystery of the Tai sword? He's in the tower. Deacon Qing Hong is entertaining him." Qing Hong? Although she knows that I value this sword, she doesn't know to what extent. Send someone to keep watch. Don't let the sword master leave. Tower master, don't worry. Of the 4 grandmasters in the divine armament tower, besides the 2 of us, one is guarding the sword, and the other is outside the door. We won't let him leave easily. Moreover, the reason why he wants to see you is because he wants to buy your sword. Therefore, before you give a detailed answer, he won't leave easily. Buy the sword? It seems that he really saw through the mystery of this sword. Over the past 3 years, I've invited more than a dozen sword masters, but none of them could understand the mystery of the sword. Originally, I was about to give up and planned to step into the awakening realm with ordinary methods. Who would have thought that I would finally see the dawn of success today? House Lord, this child has not yet explained the mysteries of the Greater One's sword, and from what I can see, he attaches great importance to the Greater One's sword. Using ordinary means, he may not obediently spit out the secrets of the Greater One's sword, and Exine Long waved his hand and interrupted the words of the blood-changing Grandmaster. Wu Gang, anyone who knows the secret of the Tai sword want to take the Tai sword for themselves. Even if they can't use it, they will leave it to their relatives. Therefore, I have never thought of using ordinary means to force the secret of the Tai sword out of his mouth. However, this is the divine armament tower. When the time comes, it will not be up to him whether he says it or not. This subordinate understands, but Tower Master may not know that this Tsing Hui is not simple. Not only does he have the background of a true disciple of the Hunyuan Heaven sect, but he also has a high cultivation base. Just 2 hours ago, he had a conflict with the son of the Demon Hunters Guild president, Wu Ju. He killed 3 grandmasters with 1 sword under the siege of 4 blood-changing grandmasters. Wu Gang's words immediately caused Exine Long, who was in a hurry, to stop. A sword appraisal grandmaster at the first level of immortality? No. If he's on a mortal level, we won't have any other thoughts. He doesn't have the bloodline pressure of an immortal level or an awakening level. He's only on the blood-changing level. He must have cultivated some kind of powerful method to make his chi and blood much stronger than an ordinary blood-changing grandmaster. A top-notch technique? Was he trying to awaken a spirit beast bloodline or even a saint beast bloodline? Have you investigated his background? We received news from Lai Gang and the others that he is a disciple of Cloud Desolate City's Zhua family. Cloud Desolate City? Backed by the desolate Cloud Mountain Range, the people are valiant, and there are a few blood transformation realm experts overseeing them. However, the Zhua family is not worth mentioning. They don't even have a blood-changing grandmaster, but they have a true disciple behind them named Nalan Fei. It is said that she is very talented. I've heard of Nalan Fei. She is a famous figure among the true disciples. She became a true disciple 6 years ago, and 3 years ago, she was already at the 2nd level of immortality. Now, it is said that she is about to condense or achieve. She is an extremely famous genius disciple in the entire Hunyuan Heaven sect. It is said that many elders give her face and think that she has a chance to become a peak master within 100 years. A peak master. Wu Gang's expression was awe-inspiring. The weight of a peak master in the Hunyuan Heaven sect was equivalent to that of a hall master. If any peak master was willing to develop outside, they could establish a force that was not inferior to the Lorraine Kingdom. It could be said that a peak's force was equivalent to a large country. This Cho Tsing Hui is related to Nalan Fei. There's no need to be so overcautious. Cho Tsing Hui's battle prowess far surpasses that of a blood-changing grandmaster. If we attack later, we have to capture him alive in 1 blow. Only then can we slowly force the secret of the Tai sword out of him. There are 4 grandmasters in the building, and the house master has also brought 2 grandmasters. In addition to the house master, it's about time. Not enough. Go. Invite Master Shang Jiuxiao of the Inherited Heaven Sword Dojo. Invite Master Shang. Master Shang is a half-step immortality expert. He once defeated 4 grandmasters with 1 sword. With Master Shang here, it is indeed enough to ensure that nothing goes wrong. I'll go now. Quickly, Exine Long said as he was led to his own courtyard by his subordinates. He had spent a lot of effort to set up this courtyard. There were many mechanisms inside, and even an expert of the first level of immortality would not benefit from it. As he sat down in the study, Qing Hong, who had received the news not long ago, brought Xing Hui to the study. Seeing the two of them, Xian Long stood up enthusiastically and welcomed Xing Hui in. Haha, this must be Prince Xing Hui. You are indeed dignified and mighty. Please take a seat. House Master Xen, Xing Hui said and asked directly. I wonder if House Master Xian is willing to sell the Tai sword in your hands. Since the sword has been taken out, I naturally hope to sell it for a high price. However, this sword is after all a famous person's relic. I am very curious about the mysteries of this sword. I wonder if Prince Xing Hui can explain it to me? Xing Hui was not surprised that these people could not see the mysteries of the Tai sword. This sword contained sword intent. Only those who had cultivated the sword intent could feel its mysteries, and the cultivation of sword intent was not easy. Xing Hui was able to obtain the title of Sword Saint in China on Earth. In addition to his outstanding battle achievements, being able to condense a sword intent in a short period of time at such a young age was the most important thing. If he could buy this sword and use it to cultivate swordsmanship for a long time, he would definitely be able to cultivate the true sword intent after carefully comprehending it. He would not need to explode his spirit to be able to use it. A superb quality sword. It can be said to be unique among the superb quality swords. I feel that this sword is very suitable for me. Xian Long saw that Xing Hui clearly did not want to speak, and his heart turned cold. At this moment, an old man of the blood-changing realm appeared outside the study. Xian Long seemed to have received a secret signal and let out a sigh of relief. Qing Hong, you can leave, Xian Long said. After Qing Hong left, he slowly said, I don't know the mysteries of this sword, but I know a thing or two about its origin. I wonder if Prince Xing Hui is interested in hearing about it. Xing Hui frowned. He slightly sensed that there were already 4 master stage experts gathered outside the study, including Xian Long, who is slightly stronger than Master Blood Changing. The number of master stage experts had reached 5. The lineup was even larger than the group of people from the Demon Hunters Union at the entrance of the Divine Armament Building. Xian Long seemed to not see Xing Hui's frown and continued. This sword belonged to Supreme Nine Sword. It is said that he relied on his swordsmanship to awaken the bloodline of the holy beast White Tiger. Later, he was valued by a hall master of the Shenshao Sword sect, who was an enemy of the Hunyuan Heaven sect, and assisted him to cultivate the bloodline of the Golden Rock. He had 2 meridians in the same body, and his killing power was unparalleled. In just 10 years after entering the Shenshao Sword sect, he cultivated to the 3rd level of the longevity stage and condensed a sword aura. He suppressed the elders and was known as the #1 sword cultivator among the true disciples. Unfortunately, the Hunyuan Heaven sect would never watch such a genius rise. In the end, he was ambushed and killed by a peak master of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. The Tai sword was the sword supreme 9 sword used before he entered the Shenshao Sword sect. In the 10 sacred sects, those below the 3rd level of the longevity stage were all true disciples. When they reached the 4th level, they could take charge of a peak and be called the Peak Master's Disciple. When they reached the 5th level, they could be conferred the title of Deputy Sect Master and enjoy the privileges of a Deputy Sect Master. In addition, if a true disciple exceeded the age of a disciple by 60 years in the 4th level of the longevity stage, he would automatically become an elder. If he reached the 5th level, he would become a hall master. When he reached the 6th level, he would automatically become a supreme elder. Xing Hui, who was multitasking, was immediately attracted by Xian Long's words. Relying on swordsmanship to awaken the White Tiger bloodline? You mean, he did not cultivate the secret method, but relied on swordsmanship to awaken the White Tiger bloodline? Yes, and it's the Holy Beast bloodline. Xian Long seemed to know what Xing Hui wanted to ask and said, It's true that one can awaken the White Tiger bloodline without cultivating the secret method, but the difficulty is too great. Every person who awakens the white tiger bloodline by relying on their own cultivation without cultivating the secret method can be said to be amazing, 1 in 100. Moreover, because self-awakening can often be supplemented by some top secret methods and the essence and blood of spiritual beasts, it can awaken a new white tiger bloodline again and achieve dual cultivation. Any dual cultivator can break their own limits and cultivate the holy beast bloodline at the same time. At present, the new book is in the process of rushing to the new book list. Please give your support. Let the ranking of Hunyuan Sword Emperor move forward again. Chapter 27. Xian Long's words immediately opened a new door for Tsinghui. It turned out that one did not need to rely on special secret methods to awaken bloodlines. It was no wonder that many inner disciples of the Holy Land were still unwilling to break through, even though they had terrifying blood chi that far surpassed the blood transformation realm. One reason was that they wanted to cultivate a better awakening method. Another reason was that they had to attempt self-awakening. After all, once they were able to self-awaken, they would be able to cultivate dual meridians with the help of the holy beast blood essence. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they had reached the heavens in a single bound. After a moment, Tsinghui's expression changed. He had already realized the reason why Xian Long had told him this. It is rumored that the Greater One Sword contains the secret of 9 Swords Sage's self-awakening bloodline. In the past 3 years, I have invited no less than 20 sword masters to search for the mystery of the sword, but these 20 people have been unable to find anything until today. Xian Long's gaze landed on Qing Su. There was a hint of fanaticism in his eyes. Zhuo Qingshu, you've allowed me to see hope once more. Hope for a dual meridian cultivator who has awakened his bloodline to reach the heavens in a single step. Tsinghui glanced outside the door. Then his gaze returned to Xian Long. Does the Divine Armament Tower know the consequences of doing this? Xian Long was a smart person and understood the meaning of Tsinghui's words. With a resolute expression, he said, "Cho Tsinghui, I have waited for 3 whole years for this moment. As early as 3 years ago, I could have awakened my bloodline and stepped into the immortal realm. However, in order to discover the secret of the Greater One Sword, I have delayed until today. Therefore, I am determined to obtain the secret of the Greater One Sword. I can assure you that as long as you are willing to tell me the secret of the Greater One Sword, I can give you anything you want. Money? Beauty? Power? Even if you want a ranked divine weapon, I can get it for you." Tsinghui shook his head. He did not believe that Xian Long was willing to share the secret of the Greater One Sword with others. Seeing Tsinghui's appearance, Xian Long's expression sank. "Cho Tsinghui, don't force me. I have waited for this day for 3 years, and no one can stop me. Even if you have a successor disciple behind you, you cannot stop my determination. If you are willing to tell me the secret of the Greater One Sword, we can complete the transaction and everyone will be happy. If you are not willing to tell me the mystery of the Greater One Sword." At this point, there was already a hint of coldness in his tone. "I've been in charge of the Divine Armament Building for many years, and there are many capable people under my command. There will definitely be someone who can help me pry open your mouth. Is that so? In that case, are you prepared for the Divine Armament Tower to be completely wiped out?" Tsinghui slowly pulled out the level 1 divine weapon, refined edge sword, which he had obtained from Wuju. "Cho Tsinghui, don't force me." There was a trace of anger in Xian Long's eyes. "I don't want to fight with you to such an extent, but if you really force me, then don't blame me. To tell you the truth, in order to deal with you, I have already called in 6 great masters. In addition, I have also invited the famous Sword Dao Grandmaster Shang Jiuxiao of the Royal City and myself. With this force, even if the 10 blood transformation realm experts join forces, we can still defeat them. No matter how brilliant your cultivation method is, you are still not someone who has stepped into the immortal realm. Facing us 8 great masters, you will definitely die. Sword Dao Grandmaster, he has also seen the Greater One Sword for you, right? You can't even see the mystery of the Greater One sword. What kind of sword Dao Grandmaster is he? Arrogant brat. Before Xian Long could speak, a voice came from outside the door. Immediately after, an old man who looked around 60 years old stepped into the room under Wu Gang's lead. Hall Master Shang. Xian Long nodded to him. Shang Jiuxiao looked around 60 years old, but in fact he was less than 50 years old. It was said that because he failed to awaken his bloodline, he ended up like this. Therefore, he was trying to collect life-prolonging medicines. Xian Long used a stalk of longevity grass as a lure to invite him out of the mountain. Hall Master Xian. Shang Jiuxiao responded, his gaze falling on Xing Hui. This is the person Hall Master Xian wants me to deal with? He is just an ignorant brat. There is no need for you to act. I alone am enough to deal with him. Xian Long cupped his hands. We naturally believe in Hall Master Shang's strength, but I still need to capture him and interrogate him about the secret of the Greater One sword. I need to capture him alive, so it is better for us to cooperate with Hall Master Shang. Shang Jiuxiao seemed to ponder for a moment before speaking again. Since Hall Master Xian needs to capture him alive, then to be cautious, I will reluctantly join forces with you. After all, Hall Master Xian's matter is more important. Thank you, Hall Master Shang, for your understanding. Xian Long cupped his hands slightly at Shang Jiuxiao. Boy, I will give you one last chance. Immediately surrender and tell me the information Hall Master Xian wants. Otherwise, clang. What greeted him was Xing Hui's sword. Let me see how you can be called a sword master. The sword light shook, and a refined edge sword, accompanied by the explosion of qi and blood, was like a meteor tearing through the void. It brazenly arrived in front of Shang Jiuxiao. The sword edge was mixed with a ranked spiritual weapon, and the sharpness of tearing through the void suddenly made Shang Jiuxiao's expression change. Boy, how dare you? How dare you sneak attack? Shang Jiuxiao growled, and the sword in his hand was immediately unsheathed. The sword light moved and turned into a dazzling sword shadow, as if wings were blooming. Even if it did not collide with Xing Hui's sword edge, it still completely blocked the sharpness of the refined edge sword, and stabbed along the body of the refined edge sword, going straight for Xing Hui's wrist. The essence of swordsmanship. Qinyu. As a famous swordmaster in the Lorraine Kingdom, Shang Jiuxiao's understanding of swordsmanship had reached the pinnacle even though he had not comprehended sword intent. His sword stabbed out incisively and vividly, showing his understanding of swordsmanship. In front of him, Xing Hui's swordsmanship was like a toddler who had just learned how to walk. However, swordsmanship was still just swordsmanship. Shang Jiuxiao could call himself a sword master, but he was far from reaching the level of swordsmanship. That's it. Xing Hui's qi and blood suddenly surged, and his essence, qi, and spirit reached the pinnacle at this moment, as if they were connected to the refined edge sword in his hand. Essence and qi combined with spirit, spirit combined with sword, sword combined with intent, and intent combined with heart. Gather the faith in one's heart. Cultivate the immortality of one's spirit. Forge the sword with spirit. Forge the sword with intent, and forge the sword with heart. That was the true meaning of swordsmanship. If one did not comprehend the true meaning of swordsmanship, how could he call himself a sword master? Whoosh! The sword light pierced through the sky. Even though Shang Jiuxiao had performed his swordsmanship to the extreme, in front of the true meaning of swordsmanship, all the changes in swordsmanship were like a dream and shattered with a loud bang. Xing Hui's sword light carried an irresistible sharpness, sweeping through the surroundings and brazenly stabbing toward Shang Jiuxiao. Before the tip of the sword arrived, the sharp aura and the sword intent contained in the swordsmanship had already turned into a giant sword that could hold up the sky, tearing Shang Jiuxiao's spirit and intent apart. Shang Jiuxiao's eyes widened as if he had seen the most unbelievable scene in the world. Club Master Shang, be careful. Sensing that Shang Jiuxiao's expression was not right, Xian Long shouted and hurriedly blocked with his sword. The Divine Armament Tower collected all the divine weapons in the world, and there were many ranked divine weapons. In addition, Xian Long himself was a tyrannical figure who surpassed the ordinary blood-exchanging sect. His chi and blood surged, and his sword could be said to be earth-shattering. The intense friction between the sword edge and the air formed an ear-piercing sound, as if it was going to cut the space in the room in one fell swoop. However, Sing Hui's expression did not change at all in the face of Xian Long's sword attack. Sword intent, condensing all the essence, chi, and spirit of a swordsman. The sword pierced out with a resplendent brilliance that would not be affected by any external force. Even if Sing Hui's sword intent was not perfect, and he could only occasionally use the eruption of essence, chi, and spirit to perform such a stunning move, this sword had already been pierced out, and no one could stop it. The intent was in the heart was in the sword was in the spirit, and the life was eternal, and the sword intent was inextinguishable. If the heart was not dead, the sword intent would exist forever. Chi, all the sword light vanished into thin air. The sword light of the refined edge sword was like a shooting star, tearing Shang Jiuxiao's sword light apart and piercing through his glabella. Chapter 28. Sword Intent. Shang Jiuxiao's eyes widened as he spat out the two words with difficulty. In the end, he fell on his back. Master of the Sky bearing Sword Dojo. One sword dead. Shang Jiuxiao had once defeated 4 great blood transformation grandmasters by himself with a single sword. He had made a name for himself in the Lorraine Kingdom and was a guest of honor in the manors of many nobles and princes. After that, he opened the Sky Inheritance Sword School in the kingdom and taught countless disciples. It was said that the most outstanding of these disciples had already stepped into the viscera refining realm and had hope of blood transformation. However, no matter how good he was, he could not withstand one blow from Tsing Hui and was killed by one sword. Such a scene was a great shock to Wu Gang, Xian Long, and the others who were surrounding him. Master Shang of the Sky bearing Sword Dojo. Actually, how is this possible? Wu Gang, Xian Long, and the others were shocked, but Tsing Hui was not moved at all. After killing Shang Jiuxiao, his figure didn't slow down in the slightest. His left hand suddenly pointed out horizontally, landing heavily on the sharp sword of Xian Long. With a pung sound, the force rippled. The ranked divine weapon that was aimed at Sing Hui's heart was pushed away by the force of his fingers. Then his body flashed, and the refined edge sword stabbed horizontally. Not good. Wu Gang, who had rushed forward, did not have time to change his sword. The sword light of the refined edge sword had already torn apart his sword defense that was full of flaws and pierced through his throat. Wu Gang. Chi. After piercing through Wu Gang's throat, Sing Hui flicked the tip of his sword. The ranked divine weapon, refined edge sword, carried an unstoppable sharpness as it flew through the air and collided with the sword of another Grandmaster expert. Bang! Sparks burst forth. The huge gap between a ranked divine weapon and a top-grade sword was demonstrated vividly at this moment. Even if the blood-changing Grandmaster's cultivation was not weak, and he had a good grasp of the timing, taking advantage of the critical moment when Sing Hui had exhausted his strength and had not yet recovered his strength to assassinate him. Wiping out the difference in strength between the two, his upper-grade sword was still broken in the first moment when the metal clashed. Having lost the sharp sword, Sing Hui took a step forward and moved forward. He pinched the fingers of his left hand into a sword and used the meridian severing skill. With a burst of bone-penetrating force, he pointed at the vital point of the Grandmaster Blood Conversion Master's heart and blew it up through his body. 2 Grandmasters died in an instant. But this was not the end. After killing this Grandmaster Blood Swap, Sing Hui's heavenly weapon in his right hand had already swung 180 degrees behind him, blocking Xian Long's furious sword strike. Boom! The 2 ranked heavenly weapons collided in the void, sputtering out streaks of sharp chi. which cut Tsing Hui's sleeve like sword chi. Even his right hand, which was holding the sword, had bloodstains. Tsing Hui turned a blind eye to these minor injuries. Instead, he used the force of the sword strike to leap back 6 meters. His right foot kicked against the wall, and like a shooting star, he charged toward the other 2 grandmasters who had just rushed into the study. Be careful. He has a ranked heavenly weapon in his hand. Xian Long roared angrily. The force under his feet exploded, and he chased after Tsing Hui. In terms of combat strength, Xian Long was not inferior to a martial sage at the first level of liberation. With the help of his heavenly weapon, he was even stronger than a martial sage at the first level of liberation. However, Tsing Hui had relied on months of cultivation to push his body to the limit of the second level of liberation. He also had a heavenly weapon that was not inferior to Xian Long's. His strength was only above Xian Long's, and he had an overwhelming advantage against ordinary grandmasters. When the 2 grandmasters who had rushed into the study attacked, the refined edge sword had already pierced through the head of one of them. Then, he took the blow of the other grandmaster and used the force of the blow to soar into the air. Once again, he avoided Xian Long's sword strike and turned to the other grandmaster blood swap. Retreat! Retreat! Retreat quickly! Don't fight with his heavenly weapon! The remaining grandmaster shouted in fear. In front of him, a grandmaster in the blood swap realm was as weak as an ant, and he could easily kill him. Xian Long's heart trembled at the sight of this horrifying technique that was close to the immortal realm. How was it possible? Even if you have cultivated the top techniques to awaken the bloodline of the sacred beast, you can't be this strong. Sect guarding true technique. You have cultivated the sect guarding true technique to awaken the bloodline of the sacred beast. Xian Long shouted in shock. Leader, leave quickly. We can't stop him. One of the remaining 3 grandmasters shouted. He activated a secret technique and exploded his chi and blood. There seemed to be a roar of a dragon coming from his body. Then he punched out. The force and air friction formed an explosive power. If this punch landed on a wall, it would be enough to shatter it. Whoosh! Tsing Hui's body moved, and the tip of his sword spun rapidly. His level 2 sword principle talent allowed him to perform the best sword art, even if his understanding of swordsmanship was not at Shang Jiuxiao's level. After this sword strike, no matter how the Grandmaster Blood Swap changed his fist art, he could not avoid the refined edge sword's attack. In the end, he could only watch helplessly as his thunderous attack landed on the refined edge sword. Half of his arm was turned into a bloody mist by the sharpness of the refined edge sword. Wu Xian, seeing the miserable state of the Grandmaster in the Blood Swap realm, Xian Long cried out in pain. The master of the inherited Heaven Sword School, whom he had high hopes for, was killed in an instant. Of the 6 Grandmasters he had brought, 3 were dead and 1 was disabled. Xian Long was heartbroken. The magic weapon school he had painstakingly built was about to be destroyed because of Tsing Hui. Damn it, he is a monster who cultivates the true skill of his school and tries to awaken the bloodline of a divine beast. This kind of monster is not only in the awakening realm, but also in the awakening realm. As long as they're given a full set of ranked magic weapons, they will dare to fight against awakening realm grandmasters who have awakened the bloodline of ordinary fierce beasts. Ordinary grandmasters will not be able to stop them. Xian Long's heart was full of unwillingness. But seeing Tsing Hui's ferocity, he had to swallow his anger. Before Tsing Hui could finish him, he quickly took the Tai sword and rushed out of the study. Leave the Tai sword. Qing Su originally planned on dealing with Xian Long after killing all the Grandmasters of Blood Conversion. But when he saw how Xian Long actually wanted to leave with the Great Unity Sword, he immediately leapt up and shot towards Xian Long like an arrow. Stop him! Xian Long shouted angrily and retreated quickly. Protect the House Master. The remaining 2 Grandmasters knew that they were no match for Tsing Hui, but they still roared and moved forward bravely. They raised their swords and sabers and attacked Tsing Hui from both sides. Tsing Hui frowned. His chi and blood were boiling, and the power of the second stage of liberation was fully unleashed. Bang! The saber light and the sword shadow disappeared. The two Grandmaster Realm experts who came to intercept him flew backward at a speed not slower than when they came. One of them had his throat pierced by a sword. He covered the wound with his hand and was full of fear. The other person was not injured, but his chest had completely collapsed. He was still in the void, but he was already on the verge of death. He killed two Grandmasters with one blow. Such a fierce scene made Wu Xian, who had lost half his arm, and Xian Long, who had escaped from the study, dumbfounded. How could the blood-changing realm be so powerful? Chapter 29. Lord, what's going on? What's going on? At this time, the people outside the courtyard seemed to have heard the noise coming from the study. Led by Qing Hong, more than a dozen organs refining experts quickly surrounded them. At this time, although Tsing Hui's white clothes were fluttering and he looked calm, the sharp sword in his hand was stained with blood. Drops of blood were still flowing along the sword and dripping to the ground from the tip of the sword. Soon, a blood-red puddle was formed on the ground. Just like that, he stood before Xian Long and Wu Xian without taking any further action. However, even with that being the case, the master of the Xian family, who was basically omnipotent in the eyes of Qing Hong and the others, was filled with fear. He was actually afraid to act recklessly when Qing Su stood in his way. Lord, Qing Hong naturally understood what had happened in the study room earlier. However, as she looked at the extremely terrified Xian Long and Wu Xian, who had lost an arm, a storm arose in her heart. Did Lord Xian Long attack Tsing Hui? Moreover, looking at the unscathed Tsing Hui, they failed. Do you want to live or die? Tsing Hui looked at Xian Long and did not make the final move to kill him. I want to live. Xian Long did not care about the humiliation and quickly responded. Tsing Hui's display of strength that was not inferior to the immortal realm had already smashed the greed in his heart. Leave the sword. Let's go to another room and talk. Yes. Xian Long responded and respectfully handed the sword that was not inferior to the refined edge sword in quality to Tsing Hui. He did not dare to show the slightest dissatisfaction. Lord, Qing Hong, bring some people to clean up the study and take Wu Xian to treat his injury. Xian Long said in a low voice. Also, no one is allowed to spread what happened today. Yes, Qing Hong said with some trepidation. At the same time, she looked at Tsing Hui with some fear. She knew that the Divine Armament building was most likely going to change owners. And this new owner might be this unknown young man who she did not take seriously half a day ago. Prince Tsing Hui, please. Xian Long gestured with his hand and quickly brought him to another room. For the Divine Armament building to be able to take out a ranked Divine Armament for sale, who is the real owner behind it? Tsing Hui asked. I am the son of Dragon Shan Island's Island Lord, Xian Jinzhou. The true backer of our Divine Armament Tower is Dragon Shan Island. After Xian Long finished speaking, he cupped his hands at Tsing Hui and said, Our Divine Armament Tower was disrespectful to Prince Tsing Hui, and we are willing to apologize. The ranked Divine Armament and the Tai sword can be used as compensation. We sincerely hope that Prince Tsing Hui can forgive us. Dragon Shan Island? Tsing Hui had heard of it before. One of the top powers in the southern seas of the Lorraine Kingdom. It was said that the entire Dragon Shan Island had a population of 1 million, and the island lord's cultivation had reached the immortal stage. In addition, he was a rather famous master refiner who could refine ranked divine armaments. He had a wide circle of friends and had a close relationship with many top powers. With connections, strength, ability, and influence, the Divine Armament Tower had no need to fear anyone in the entire Lorraine Kingdom as long as they did not offend the royal family. Unfortunately, he had met Tsing Hui. Not only did Tsing Hui have battle prowess close to the immortal stage, but he also had the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's true disciple, Nalan Fei, behind him. The Dragon Sword Sect's potential had been exhausted. If it were not for the title of Master Refiner, it would be impossible for them to lead millions of people and establish a country within a country. However, Nalan Fei was a talented true disciple who had reached the second stage of the immortal stage at a young age. She had even begun to condense Gang Qi and was expected to become a peak master in the future. If Xian Long dared to use his power to oppress others, the entire Dragon Chant Island might be buried with him. It is indeed Dragon Chant Island. This matter was completely due to my obsession. I vainly attempted to force Prince Xing Hui to reveal the secret of the Tai sword. I hope that Prince Xing Hui will not take out your anger on Dragon Chant Island. I, Xian Long, am willing to bear all the blame. Xian Long respectfully bowed to Xing Hui. If he had obtained the secret of the Tai sword from Xing Hui, awakened by himself, and became the temple master's disciple, he would not have paid any attention to a mere Nalan Fei. He would have killed Xing Hui, but now, not only would he miss the opportunity to obtain the Tai sword, but Dragon Chant Island would also face the threat of Nalan Fei, a true disciple. He had no choice but to lower his head. Xing Hui saw through Xian Long's thoughts at a glance. This kind of person was like a real villain. He could be ordered to do things, but he was not trustworthy. Since you plan to cultivate 2 meridians at the same time, you must have prepared a brilliant awakening method. Xian Long only hesitated for a moment before he quickly responded, yes. Then he took out a cloth scroll from a hidden compartment on his belt and respectfully handed it to Xing Hui. This is my awakening method, called the Wandering Dragon Sea Suppressing Art. It is a supreme, true method. When cultivated to the extreme, there's a 90% chance of awakening the spiritual beast bloodline. Supreme true method? Because Xing Hui had already reached the peak of the blood transformation stage and occasionally mingled in the Chaos Temple, he was well informed and had a good understanding of awakening methods. Awakening methods could be divided into ordinary methods, true arts, saint techniques, and divine scriptures. They corresponded to the 4 bloodlines of vicious beasts, spiritual beasts, sacred beasts, and divine beasts. And each method could be divided into ordinary, superior, first-rate, top, and supreme according to the probability of awakening. Ordinary saint techniques had a 10% chance of awakening the sacred beast bloodline, while supreme saint techniques had an 80 to 90% chance of awakening the sacred beast bloodline. The Azure Dragon True method that Xing Hui had derived from the longevity art was an ordinary true method. When cultivated to perfection, there was a 10% chance of awakening the sacred beast bloodline. The Hunyuan Heaven Sect's Black Hole True method was a first-rate divine scripture. Although it was the most ordinary divine scripture and difficult to cultivate, there was still a 10% chance of awakening the sacred beast Kunpeng bloodline. Methods above the saint technique level were monopolized by the 10 great sections. Anyone who dared to leak it would be hunted down by the 10 great sections. Even the true methods that were circulated outside were of ordinary quality. The Zhua family's Azure Dragon True method was something that Nalan Fei had specially requested from the sect to repay a debt of gratitude. Even with her identity as a talented true disciple, she could only request an ordinary true method. From this, one could see how difficult it was to obtain a high-grade true method. But now, Xian Long actually had a supreme true method in his hands. Wait a minute. A saint technique that only had a 10% chance of awakening the sacred beast bloodline. Why would he spend so much effort to cultivate 2 meridians at the same time? I've already given you a chance. Xing Hui's right hand slowly grasped the hilt of his sword. Seeing this, Xian Long panicked and said, Prince Xing Hui, what is the meaning of this? I've already given you the true method you wanted. Clang. In response, a sword was unsheathed. Wait a minute. I got it. I still have a saint technique. As Xian Long spoke, he pretended to search his body for a moment. Soon, he took out an ancient scroll filled with an ancient aura. This is the Sky Peng Unhindered Art, a top-rate saint technique. A saint technique, and a top-rate saint technique that had a 30% chance of awakening the sacred beast bloodline. recalling Xian Long's appearance when he took out this saint technique. Xing Hui seemed to have guessed something. You're a son of chaos? Xian Long's heartbeat instantly doubled, but he quickly controlled his abnormal emotions and forced a smile. Prince Xing Hui, you must be joking. What kind of people are sons of chaos? Every one of them can be called a genius blessed by the heavens. They have great opportunities and great fortune on them. As long as they don't die prematurely, they can easily attain immortality in the future. How could I have such an opportunity? It looks like you've really obtained the inheritance of a son of chaos. What rank is he? Xing Hui stared at Xian Long, his eyes gradually sharpening. Under Qing Su's gaze, Xian Long opened his mouth, and his voice gradually sank. He said with a hint of desperation, I've obtained the legacy of a Class 5 Son of Chaos. I've retained 2 classes. The first class is Comprehension, and the second class is Space. Young Master Qing Su, don't try to force me into anything. We can just go down together. It won't be difficult for you to defeat me with your strength, but you definitely won't be able to capture me alive, let alone stop me from committing suicide. It'll be impossible for you to force the method to open the Chaos Divine Hall out of me. If that's the case, why don't I use great treasures to buy my life? If you spare my life, I'll give you all the treasures I've obtained. Chapter 30. Rank 2 Son of Chaos. His original body has reached rank 5. A son of chaos who could live to rank 5 would certainly not have a low cultivation. It was no wonder that he had a high-grade saint technique. Xing Hui's gaze fell on Xian Long. Xian Long hurriedly said, My inheritance came from the Golden Light Vagabond. He is an eternal life stage, 4th stage evil cultivator, and his fame is illustrious. He once single-handedly challenged a branch of the Jin Wu religion, one of the 10 sacred sects, and killed the branch's sect master and high priest, 2 eternal life stage, 4th stage evil cultivators. Hundreds of priests and deacons died at his hands, and small countries like the Lorraine Kingdom could be annihilated with a flip of his hand. He has fought for 300 years, and the treasures he has accumulated are astronomical. Even if I only obtain a portion of them, this portion will still allow Prince Xing Hui's wealth to reach the level of a high-grade deacon of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. I will use these treasures to buy my life. With these treasures and the Tai sword, you will very likely awaken on your own. At that time, you will also have a temple master level existence as your master. Looking at Xian Long, Xing Hui thought of Zhuo Yinqing. He had fused with Cho Xing Hui and owed the Zhuo family a favor. If he gave a rank 2 Son of Chaos to Zhuo Yinqing, it could be considered as repaying the favor. But a rank 2 Son of Chaos is too low. Xing Hui immediately made a decision. Xian Long noticed the change in Xing Hui's expression and became extremely nervous. Xing Hui's next decision was enough to determine his life or death. You can keep your rank as a Son of Chaos, but everything you have will belong to me. In addition, as I said, I need someone to do things for me. Good, good. I can give you everything, and I can swear that from now on, I will follow Prince Xing Hui's orders. If Prince Xing Hui tells me to go east, I will not go west. Xian Long immediately agreed. However, he had already made up his mind to leave the Lorraine Kingdom as soon as he had the chance. He would never return. Xing Hui couldn't capture Xian Long, but that didn't mean that Nailin Fei behind Xing Hui couldn't do the same. Staying here was simply seeking death. As long as he could preserve his life, with a Tier 2 Son of Chaos as his foundation, it wouldn't be difficult for him to cultivate to the immortality stage. Once he reached the immortality stage, wouldn't he be like a fish in the sea, a bird flying freely in the sky? In the future, if his cultivation reached a certain level, he could return to the Hunyuan Heaven sect to find Xing Hui and avenge today's humiliation. Empty words have no proof. Prince Xing Hui wants to make a written contract? Stand. We'll do it right away. Xian Long hurriedly agreed. Everything should be done to stabilize Xing Hui. Written contract. To many people, the written agreement is completely useless, but to the son of chaos, I believe in the chaos oath more than the written agreement. Chaos oath? The chaos oath can only be made between sons of chaos. At this point, Exan Long's eyes suddenly widened. You're also a son of chaos. For a moment, he felt his brain go blank. I need you to make a chaos oath with 50 Taoist rhymes. The son of chaos you inherited is a tier 5 son of chaos, and the tier 2 son of chaos will be converted into 50 Taoist rhymes. You can definitely pay for it. Make the oath or die. You don't have a third choice. 50 Taoist rhymes. If he wanted to violate the chaos oath, he would have to pay 10 times the value of the Taoist rhymes. 50 Taoist rhymes. The price of violating the oath was 500 Taoist rhymes, which was equivalent to 5 chaos ranks. Even if Xian Long sold himself, he wouldn't be worth that much. A son of chaos. Xing Hui in front of him was also a son of chaos. This time, he really wanted to roar and fight Xing Hui to the death. However, if he really did that, he would definitely pay the price with his life. Who would be willing to die if they could live? I don't want to repeat myself a third time. I'm willing to make a chaos oath. Xian Long lowered his head and said, "Go to the Chaos Temple and meet at the 132 pillars in the main hall." After Xing Hui finished speaking, he looked at Xian Long and waited for him to enter the Chaos Temple. Only then did he split a part of his attention and step into the Chaos Temple. Amidst the primordial chaos, a part of Xing Hui's mind had already appeared in his personal space in the Chaos Temple. Compared to the blank space before, there were now some living tools in it. These were the things Xing Hui had prepared for living in the forest for half a year. After a glance, he directly left his personal space and came to the huge main hall. The main hall was still bustling with people. This world was vast and spanned tens of millions of miles. Even if there were only a few hundred sons of chaos on each continent, and these sons of chaos were not in the main hall 99% of the time, the main hall was still filled with people. Xing Hui walked for a while and came to the 132 pillars in the main hall. Here, a man who looked slightly different from Xian Long was already waiting. Prince Xing Hui. When he saw Xing Hui arrive, Xian Long somewhat helplessly called out to him, "Let's make the oath." Yes. At this moment, Xian Long could only accept his fate and make the chaos oath. If he died, everything would be over. Only if he lived would there be hope. Even though the chances of obtaining 500 Taoist rhymes seemed so slim. After making the oath under the witness of the Chaos Temple, the two of them left the Chaos Temple. When you try to kill me, you should have considered this outcome. Now that you're still alive, you're in a much better situation than me. Yes. Xian Long put away his frowning expression, accepting his fate as he replied, "The things I obtained from Golden Light Wanderer are all hidden in my personal space." With that, he took out the items that belonged to the vagabond Golden Light from his personal space. There were 3 bottles of elixirs, a book, a level 3 offensive weapon, and a level 4 flying sword. Golden Light Vagabond died in a bloody battle with his opponent. His main divine weapon and armor were both destroyed. He only managed to preserve his life by relying on this 4th grade flying sword. This 4th grade flying sword and that 3rd grade divine weapon both have Golden Light Vagabond's spiritual imprint. I spent 3 years and only managed to erase 60% of the spiritual imprint in the 3rd grade divine weapon. Level 3 weapon. Xing Hui immediately held the level 3 weapon in his hand. However, when he held the level 3 weapon, he could clearly feel a repulsive force coming from the weapon. This was because the Vagabond Golden Light's spiritual imprint had yet to completely dissipate. The 4th stage of the immortal realm was the unity of spirit and chi. Spirit and chi could be separated from the body and exist for a long time. Some peak-level unity of spirit and chi cultivators could attach a strand of their chi to their disciples. It was like a clone that could appear at a crucial moment to kill the enemy. The spiritual imprint of a unity of spirit and chi cultivator who had died 3 years ago was still so stubborn. It could be seen how powerful he was. A level 3 divine weapon. It can increase one's attack by 9 to 18 levels. The sword chi contained in the divine weapon can even kill an awakening realm expert on the spot. Xian Long has only had this sword for a short time, so he hasn't truly mastered it. Once he does, the outcome of today's life and death battle will be reversed. Sing Hui carefully sensed the terrifying sword chi contained in the weapon and became vigilant. In this world, powerful beings were as common as clouds. Because of the existence of the Chaos Divine Palace, countless people had been blessed with opportunities. Secret magics were everywhere, and divine weapons were everywhere. Even a nobody could kill an opponent who was one level or even several levels higher than himself with the help of divine magics and divine weapons. He needed to return to Earth and keep his appointment with Ningji. He couldn't die on the way back. Be careful. If there was any danger, he must remember to kill as soon as possible. Xian Long didn't know what had happened at Sing Hui, but he clearly sensed that his aura was more dangerous than before. He immediately told him all the treasures he had obtained from the Golden Light Cultivator. The Golden Light Cultivator's things are here. Inheriting the Chaos level doesn't mean inheriting the items in one's personal space. The real treasures on the Golden Light Cultivator have disappeared. However, he hid the things he collected in one place. We can go and find them when we're stronger. The treasures I mentioned before are also those. Sing Hui nodded. However, the treasures of a big evil cultivator were bound to be dangerous. Sing Hui didn't plan to take the risk. What he needed to do now was to comprehend the rock invincible skill and combine it with the Dongyang Sword Codex as the foundation to try to self-awaken and step into the immortal realm. Chapter 31. The Great One Sword and the Rock Invincibility Technique. The Great One Sword belonged to the Nine-Sword Sage, and it contained sword intent. The Nine-Sword Sage awakened his dual meridians and became the #1 true disciple of the Shunshao Sword Sect. The Rock Invincibility Technique belonged to the Golden Light Cultivator, who relied on this technique to awaken his rock bloodline. He could come and go as he pleased in dangerous places, and he became a great evil. Any one of these two treasures would be enough to tempt immortal-level powerhouses, and they might even fight each other. However, they belonged to Sing Hui now. As Sing Hui comprehended the sword intent in the Great One Sword, the terrifying comprehension ability brought about by his rank 4 comprehension was immediately revealed. He understood all the mysteries in the Great One Sword. He used the Dongyang Sword Codex as the foundation of his cultivation, and he already had the embryonic form of sword intent. If he were to comprehend the Great One Sword again, the sword intents in it would conflict with each other, but his rank 4 comprehension allowed him to turn it into something magical. He was unable to cultivate the sword intent within the Great One Sword, but he could borrow the sword intent within the Great One Sword for his own use, tempering and stimulating his own sword intent. Through the collision of the two completely different sword intents, he could create a brief spark of sword intent, allowing Qing Su's understanding of his own Eastern Yang sword intent to deepen. As a result, although it would deplete the sword intent within the Great One Sword, his own understanding of the Eastern Yang sword intent would increase with each passing day. Previously, the East Sun sword intent could only be condensed in his spiritual world when his fighting spirit was boiling and his essence, energy, and spirit were stimulated to the extreme. At this moment, the East Sun sword intent that was derived from the East Sun sword technique in his mind was like a rising sun that emitted a blazing light that illuminated the surroundings. As soon as the sword intent appeared, it was like the rising sun, illuminating the heavens and destroying everything. It fully displayed the domineering sharpness of the Dongyang Sword Codex. In just 3 short days, his understanding of the Dongyang sword intent had reached a higher level. In addition to the sword intent, The heavenly, unhindered art had also opened up an unprecedented world of cultivation for him. In China on Earth, the martial saint realm was the limit that cultivators could reach. Everyone was bound by the shackles of the human body. No matter how strong they were, there was a limit to how strong they could be. Even for martial saints who could break through their limits and release their bodies, there was still a limit to their growth. The restrictions of their life forms made it a miracle for them to reach the first, second, and third stages of release. If they forcefully released their bodies, it would only lead to the collapse of their genes and the disintegration of their lives. However, the cultivators in this world all had unimaginable potential. Once their bloodline was awakened, it would be as if they had returned to their ancestors. They would transform into primordial beasts, spirit beasts, saint beasts, and divine beasts. Their potential for growth was immeasurable and limitless. The sky unhindered art, roaming dragon sea suppressing art, azure dragon true technique, true black hole technique, and other techniques were the keys to awakening the bloodline. Bloodline difference. The bloodline of the humans on Earth originates from apes, but the cultivators of this world originate from ancient creatures. Seeing we finished reading the heavenly unhindered art, all kinds of techniques related to the heavenly unhindered art flashed through his mind. When cultivating the heavenly unhindered art, one needed to visualize the heavenly in one's mind and imitate the heavenly in one's words and actions. One also needed to consume the heavenly pang's food as the main ingredient. Using one's mind as the guide, one would mold the heavenly pang's divine soul. Then, using one's body as the supplement, one would awaken the heavenly pang's bloodline hidden in one's body. If one could see a real heavenly pang or consume its blood essence, it would be more beneficial for awakening the heavenly pang's bloodline. However, the heavenly pang was a top saint beast and traveled the world. It was extremely difficult for even the 10 great saint sects to capture a heavenly pang alive. Naturally, observing a real heavenly pang was just an extravagant hope. The first step of cultivating the bloodline awakening technique is to create a saint beast's divine soul in the spiritual world. Using the divine soul to trigger the bloodline power in the body to awaken it. The difference between a technique awakening and an independent awakening is the directionality. With a direction, a specific target, and a target, awakening is naturally easier. However, since the path has been chosen, it can't be changed. On the other hand, an independent awakening is because one doesn't specifically create a saint beast divine soul. After awakening one's own bloodline, one can cultivate the awakening technique again and create a divine beast divine soul, achieving dual cultivation. Tsing Hui's mind fell on the sword intent that was as brilliant as the rising sun in his mind. That was the sword intent of the Danyang Sword Codex. He wanted to see what kind of bloodline talent he would awaken when he condensed the sword intent of the Danyang Sword Codex to the extreme. Among the 3 pills left behind by Cultivator Golden Light, 2 of them are used to sharpen one's true chi spirituality and raise one's cultivation level to the 4th stage of immortality, spirit, and chi as one. The 3rd one is the regeneration pill, which is a holy healing medicine. With this medicine as a backup, even if the 2nd stage of recovery can't save one's body from the 3rd stage of liberation, the regeneration pill can save one's life. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui directly took out a regeneration pill and swallowed it. He had already cultivated the sword intent and had a deeper understanding of the Danyang Sword Codex's method of self-liberation. His control was more precise. Coupled with the regeneration pill, it was not difficult for him to achieve the 3rd stage of liberation. Crackle, crackle. As Tsing Hui began to achieve the 3rd stage of liberation, the bones all over his body made light sounds. The blood in his body was like a torrent that went out of control, collapsing wantonly. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. When his strength reached its peak, his body moved. The refined edge, sword in his hand, stabbed out dazzling sword shadows. Meanwhile, his limit was constantly increasing and breaking through the upper limit of the second stage of liberation. Finally, when Tsing Hui stabbed out 186 times in one breath, the intense pain of his body being on the verge of collapse swept over him. However, this kind of collapse was within Tsing Hui's expectations. The regeneration pill's medicinal effect and the Stage 2 recovery effect worked together, allowing his body to continuously regenerate when it collapsed. Every time it was regenerated, it was also a limit breakthrough. At the same time, the Danyang sword intent in his spiritual world was like a rising sun that scattered thousands of golden lights. It shone from the spiritual world to the physical world, causing the qi and blood in his body to become hot and fierce. After spending 3 days, Tsing Hui stabilized his third stage of liberation. It took another 3 days for him to completely recover. Just like that, he had already spent 9 days in the Divine Armament Tower. It was 6 days later than the 3-day deadline given to the Demon Hunters Union. After the cultivation matter came to an end, Tsing Hui stood up and walked out of the courtyard that Xian Long had arranged for him. "Young master, congratulations on coming out of seclusion. Your cultivation has improved greatly." As soon as he walked out of the courtyard, Xian Long immediately came up to him. "Has the Demon Hunters Union sent the 500,000 gold coins?" Xian Long was slightly startled. "No, the Demon Hunters Union didn't mobilize large-scale funds." "Young master, didn't you say that the 3-day agreement was to give the Demon Hunters Union a way out? Let's go to the Demon Hunters Union." When Xian Long heard that, he immediately exclaimed, "Young master, you can't do that. I've investigated the Demon Hunters Union. More than half of the blood transformation grandmasters who were scattered in the past 9 days have returned. Now, there are more than 30 grandmasters entrenched in the Demon Hunters Union. More than 30 blood transformation grandmasters. Not only that, the president of the Demon Hunters Union, Hunyuan, also led the most elite hunting team back to the Demon Hunters Union this morning. Hunyuan is a first stage of immortality grandmaster who has been famous for a long time. The Demon Hunters Union he leads specialize in hunting spirit beasts whose adult combat power is equivalent to that of an awakening grandmaster. They are extremely tyrannical. If young master really attacks the Demon Hunters Union, Hunyuan will definitely retaliate. In my opinion, young master should either invite Miss Nail and Fei to directly suppress him until he doesn't dare to talk nonsense, or avoid him and wait for a year or 2. As long as young master can refine the level 3 divine armament, Wanxiang sword, killing Hunyuan will be easy. First stage of immortality grandmaster. Since Tsing Hui cultivated to the second stage of Sword Saint, no one had been able to force him to make a move. Now that he had advanced from the third stage of liberation to the third stage of Sword Saint, he needed to confront a real first stage of immortality grandmaster to test his limits. Hunyuan was the best choice. Chapter 32. Hunyuan came at just the right time. Xian Long immediately guessed Tsing Hui's purpose and suddenly said in surprise, "Does young master want to fight with Hunyuan?" Tsing Hui nodded. Triple release. His physique had already surpassed the limit of a blood transformation expert. In the Sun of Chaos interface, his attack, defense, and speed had all reached the 12th level. Because he had comprehended the sword intent, his spirit level had risen from the 31st level to the 34th level. He didn't know how this attribute compared to an Awakening Realm expert, but he could conclude that it wasn't something a blood transformation expert could possess. "Young master, you can't. The Eternal Life Realm and the Blood-Changing Realm are 2 different worlds. Although the blood-changing realm is powerful and is known to be able to defeat an army of thousands, when faced with an army of thousands, only death awaits. However, the awakening realm of the Eternal Life Realm is different. An awakening realm expert can easily defeat an army of thousands. Give him some time, and he can slaughter an army of tens of thousands. Ordinary blood-changing realm experts don't even mention 8 or 10. Even if dozens of them swarm up, they're still not an Awakening Realm experts match. 6 years ago, there was a large gang that moved unhindered in Luoshui. There were a total of 36 halls, and each hall master was a blood-changing grandmaster. Including the experts in the headquarters, there were 48 people in total, and their power was monstrous. However, because such a large gang offended an Awakening Realm expert of the Eternal Life Realm, he rushed into the headquarters during a meeting and killed all 48 blood-changing grandmasters. Even if my father is not good at fighting, when he occasionally practices, he can easily defeat 30 blood-changing realm experts of the Dragon Chan Island. Sing Hui shook his head. At this time, Ching Hong's voice came from outside. Lord, Prince Sing Hui, Miss Yu has come a visit. Xian Long wanted Yu Shan Shan to persuade Sing Hui. So he said, invite Miss Yu in. After the order was given, Yu Shan Shan's voice quickly came from outside the courtyard. Sing Hui, quickly leave with me. After Miss found out about you, she sent a message to Senior Sister Ran, who happened to be passing by. Senior Sister Ran's flying boat will stop at the Luo Lin Royal Capital's airport in 2 hours and bring us back to the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect. Once we reach the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect, even if the Demon Hunters Guild is extremely daring, they won't dare to behave atrociously again. Seeing that Yu Shan Shan had arrived and even invited a Hunyuan Heavenly Sect legacy disciple, Xian Long breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly said, Gongzi, with your talent and potential, as long as you cultivate patiently, you will be able to step into the immortal stage one day. Once you enter the immortal stage, it will be easy to deal with the Demon Hunters Association branch of the Lorraine Kingdom. If you are willing to show your potential and become an elder's disciple, you only need to give an order and someone will take care of everything for you. Why risk your life today? Please follow Miss Yu back to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect first. What happened? Yu Shan Shan couldn't help but look at Xian Long. Prince Sing Hui wants to challenge President Wu of the Demon Hunters Association. President Wu? Wu Hunyuan? Yu Shan Shan was slightly startled, and then she shouted in disbelief, Cho Tsing Hui, are you crazy? Wu Hunyuan is the president of the Demon Hunters Association, an awakening stage existence who has stepped into the immortal stage for more than 10 years. Moreover, it is said that he awakened not the most ordinary vicious beast bloodline, but the bloodline of a spirit beast. Even an ordinary awakening stage powerhouse may not be his opponent. Even our Hunyuan Heavenly Sect's legacy disciples and ordinary deacons are not willing to easily offend such a character, let alone you, a blood-changing stage cultivator. Do you really think that you are invincible just because you can defeat a few blood-changing stage cultivators? Wu Hunyuan is a giant-level figure who is in charge of a region. He is far from being someone you can provoke now. Come back with me. If something happens to you, how can I explain it to Miss Yin Qing? And how can I explain it to Miss Yin Qing? As Yu Shan Shan spoke, she reached out and pulled Sing Hui straight out of the Divine Armament Building to the outer courtyard of the Divine Armament Building. Sing Hui frowned as he was pulled by Yu Shan Shan. Just as he was about to break free, Ching Hong ran in with a panicked expression. Seeing Xian Long, she shouted from afar, Building Master, people from the Demon Hunters Association are coming to our Divine Armament Building. They have already entered the Ing Garden. Huh, didn't the Ing Garden respond? He is the first guest of the 10th Prince's residence, an invincible figure who has stepped into the immortal stage. How dare the Demon Hunters Association be so presumptuous in his territory? Xian Long frowned. President Wu Hunyuan of the Demon Hunters Association went straight to the 10th Prince's residence as soon as he came back this morning. Now that he has brought people to our Divine Armament Building, he must have reached some kind of agreement with the Ing Garden. What? Xian Long's body shook violently. You mean the leader of the Demon Hunters Association is President Wu Hunyuan? He personally led a team here? Yes. In addition to him, there are dozens of blood-changing grandmasters. The Demon Hunters Association is too powerful. Even the Ing Garden is unwilling to offend the Demon Hunters Association for us, so she didn't stop them at all. Damn it, Wu Hunyuan actually came to our door. It seems that they had this plan long ago. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gathered all the blood-changing realm experts in the Demon Hunters Association in the Imperial City in the past few days. Prince Tsinghui, let's leave quickly and go to the airport. The airport is an important place. If there is any damage, the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect will hold them responsible. The Demon Hunters Association definitely won't dare to behave atrociously there. Xian Long exclaimed in a low voice with a panicked expression. Leave? Where do you think you're going? At this moment, a vigorous voice came from outside the Divine Armament building. The sound waves were deafening, causing the faces of many guards in the Divine Armament building to change drastically. Not long after, they saw over 100 vigorous figures rushing over from outside the Divine Armament Tower, completely surrounding the Divine Armament Tower from inside out. In every direction, there were several Blood Transformation Realm cultivators, leading over 10 Viscera Refinement Realm cultivators to surround the tower, making it impossible for the people inside the Divine Armament Tower to escape. As the Demon Hunters Association surrounded the Divine Armament building, a middle-aged man with a sturdy body and a fierce and ruthless aura stepped into the courtyard. Hunyuan. Xian Long's expression changed when he saw the man who resembled a fierce beast. Xian Long, this has nothing to do with your Divine Armament building. Step aside and let us capture them. Hunyuan looked at Xian Long and said, Father, that's Cho Tsinghui. Wu Ju, who had followed him into the Divine Armament building, stepped forward and suddenly pointed at Tsinghui, who was not far behind Xian Long, with Qing Hong, Yushan Shan, and the others. He's the one who killed my son. Before Wu Jinyuan could reply, Xin Yu, Xin Tong's father and the captain of the first Demon Hunter team, had already roared and brazenly pounced forward. He stepped out quickly, and a wild beast-like aura erupted from his body as he charged straight at Tsinghui. Little bastard, give me back my son's life. Stop. When he saw Xian Yu directly attack Qing Su, Xian Long roared out furiously. He drew his sword and stabbed out. It turned into a cold streak of light, crushing Xian Yu's savage and terrifying aura in a single stroke. It caused the air to be filled with sword chi as it radiated with sharpness. Xian Yu's cultivation was tyrannical, and his body had integrated a large amount of fierce beasts and even spirit beasts' blood essence. Although he had yet to awaken and step into the immortality realm, his physique was far superior to ordinary blood-changing realm experts. However, Xian Long himself was not weak either. He cultivated the high-grade holy technique Sky Peng unhindered art and had a fierce divine armament. When the palm and sword collided, a muffled sound was heard in the air. Bang! Blood splattered. Relying on the divine armament, even if Xian Long's cultivation was slightly inferior to Xian Yu's, he was still able to repel him with one strike. By the time Xian Yu stood firm, several bloody marks had already appeared on his palm. Seeing that Xian Long actually dared to make a move and injure one of his capable generals, Wu Jinyuan burst into a shout, his eyes glaring fiercely. Xian Long, how dare you? Do you really think that I will give you face just because you have Dragon Chan Island backing you? Retreat immediately and don't make a mistake. Otherwise, I'll flatten the Divine Armament building today, cripple your cultivation, capture you alive, and bring you to Dragon Chant Island to punish you. No matter what, I can't rush into the top 10 of the new book list. Please give me your support. As for the lack of updates, because it's currently in the new book list period, once it exceeds 200,000 words, it will be removed from the list. Therefore, Chengfen has limited the amount of updates. After the new book list period, the original updates will be restored. Once the book is back on track, Chengfen can promise at least one update per week. Once there's an alliance leader, 10 chapters will be added. Now, please support Chengfen's new book to rush into the new book list. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.